And we're live in 3, 2, 1. Rolling. How is everybody doing? I'm just working on some thumbnails. Here's a thumbnail for the episode of my podcast that just premiered. How are y'all doing? It is 12:45 a.m. on Monday, March 20th. What's up, guys? Gals? What's up? If you guys want to chat, I'll be sending gift points to anybody who sends me a guest request that I accept. What's up, Cheyenne? So again, yo guys, I literally got into a fight with an usher at church, yesterday now. It was wild. It's going to premiere on my YouTube channel tomorrow. Today actually. Hold on, I didn't realize there was like a piece of copyrighted material in it, so I have to look real quick and see like if it's done processing, but I literally got into a fight with an usher at church. What's up, Likely Heretical? I'm doing good now, but that was like very nerve-wracking. I was literally on live when it happened. Premiere. Oh, it looks like it's ready. It looks like I can premiere it if I want now. All the restrictions are done. Who won the fight? Who do you think won the fight? Come on, man. It started with him trying to chastise me and ended with me boldly telling him not to take it out on God what any man does to him in front of the whole back of the church. Yo, it was wild. The full thing's going to be on my YouTube channel. I actually just linked my YouTube channel on my account for the first time. But yeah, it's premiering. If you guys want me to premiere it tonight, I can. I don't know. Maybe it's an hour and a half long podcast, and it's in the second half of the podcast. So the first half is me talking to my two good Catholic friends, Michael and Margaret. But yeah, here it is right there. Right here, fight with an usher at Mass. It was wild. I got into a fight with an usher at Mass. He was like so... That was not good. You were the only consistent thing in my life right now? Aw. Well, if you... Are you a Christian? Yeah, but if you guys want to see a preview of it, it's on my Catholic Verse channel. What's up, guys? I'm just talking about how I literally got into a fight with an usher at Mass today. It was not good. My heart was racing. I felt really bad. Why was there a fight? Well, first of all, there was no seats because it was packed, and so I was like, oh, I was already on live stream, and as soon as I found a seat for two, I was going to shut the live stream off, but I couldn't find a seat for two. Also, guys, if anybody sends in a rose, I will follow you. And I'm going to be sending away all the gift points I have on here. But yeah, so I couldn't find a seat. So then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to live stream a little bit because people were asking me if I could live stream when I was at Mass. So I'm like, oh, that'll be part of my evangelization. So I was like standing on the side, literally, you'll see this. I'm literally hugging the pillar as close as I possibly can as to not be a nuisance. And, that for a few minutes. And then my friend's usher, who I've like talked to a bunch of times, he comes up next to me and he's like, hey, Brett, how's it going? I'm like, hey, what's up? Nothing. I'm just live streaming on TikTok. I literally say this to this one usher, and then he leaves. And then a few minutes later, this other usher comes over to me and goes, why don't you go up front with that? But like in a way that meant like was like angry, like that, like you're not supposed to be there is what he really meant. But then he didn't show me to the front. Then he just started walking away, and I immediately picked up. I discerned immediately that that he had like anger in his voice, and so I was like, oh, I go, oh, I didn't know there was any seats up front. It's packed. There's always seats up front. It's always packed. This is how he sounded. I'm not mocking him. This is how he sounded. I'm just trying to do my best impression. But there's always seats up front, he says. So I'm like, oh, well, my mom's in the back. I didn't want to get too far away from her. I literally tried to explain this to him, but he had his ears plugged. So then later on, he comes back and he literally raises his voice. He's like, I've been here for 60 years and I've never seen anyone taking pictures at Mass. But first he started off by coming back and saying to me, I told him not to do that. And I'm like, you actually didn't tell me not to do that. You told me to go up front. Dolly, I literally am talking about how I got into a fight at church today. It was rough with an usher. So anyway, like he got mad at me for live streaming after I talked to another usher and told him that I was live streaming. And then another one came over to me and started yelling at me. Anyway, so that now you're caught up. So he's like, I told him not to do that in the back. And when I was in the back letting I got this all on video. It's gonna premiere on my channel really soon. But my YouTube channel is linked in my on my account. But please share and like the stream, by the way. If you guys have any questions about the Bible, I'm gonna try my best to answer them in a sec. But I just have to get this story out. So then I was like, well, no, actually, you didn't. You told me to go up front, and then you just left. So then I just explained, hey, this is more part of my evangelization. I'm just trying to like show the church. And yeah, he got mad at me. I subtitled the entire conversation, but then he like walked away, and the other ushers like he's not even supposed to be here. So then he came up, and I'm like, oh, okay, it figures. Then he came over to me again and he apologized, and I accepted his apology, shook his hand. But then he said something that was sacrilegious. He said, "Well, when it was Holy Mass, you couldn't take pictures," implying that it's not Holy Mass anymore. And immediately the Spirit of the Lord was inflamed within me, and I immediately like I got pretty livid in that moment, and he goes, "It doesn't matter anyway. I'm going to be leaving the church soon." And I said to him loudly so everybody in the back of the church could hear it. I chastised him openly and publicly. This was an older gentleman. He was maybe in his 70s, a lot bigger than me too. He tried to intimidate me. But um like David and Goliath. That's funny. The reading was about David being anointed, and that's what my show is about, Chase the Giant. But anyway, so I go, "Don't take it out on God what any man does to you." And I said that loudly, and then he was just silent, nothing he could do. But yeah, so everybody sided with me, and they said they're gonna go tell the priest that he was like super ignorant, and I didn't even do that. I literally was just like, okay, like I wasn't complaining or anything. But I just defended myself when he was like talking about me in front of me. But the best was when I go, "No, you didn't. You told me to go front." And then what else did I say? And he says, "Sit down," in a way. Oh, oh, oh. He goes, "I've been here for 60 years," and I go, "Doesn't matter how long you've been here." And that's when he goes, "Sit down," and I'm like, "I'm standing in the back. I can't sit down." But yeah, it was rough. But yeah, so I 100% know that God delivered me into that situation to expose him. No problem. I had no sweat off my back. But yep. So the whole interaction will be subtitled, and I'm posting it publicly online. No name, so I'm not sowing any seeds of discourse, but yep, gonna publicly chastise him. We'll see if he ends up keeping the usher position or not.
So you're
What's up?
saying so you're saying Jesus is God, right?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you. It sounds your mic's kind of tough to understand.
I know it's my AirPods. But
Oh,
you say Jesus is God.
yeah.
That's true but not true in a way.
Are you a Jehovah's Witness?
No. I'm a
Are you
Baptist.
you're a Baptist?
Yeah.
Which denomination?
Okay, so Jesus gets baptized, then who calls down to him after his baptization?
I literally can't hear you. I'm sorry. Does anybody else want to join as a guest? I can't hardly hear him at all. Um,
Okay, cut
can
out.
you disconnect your AirPods?
Um, I'm trying to fix them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very confused. Can't hear. Yeah, nobody can really hear you. Okay, cool. We got somebody else wanting to join in here. That way, as long as it's not a 1v1 conversation, I can keep you in here, but your mic was so below quality. Hello.
Hi
Everybody
there.
gets a gift that joins.
Alright.
Well, thank you.
How are you doing,
Well,
Revolution?
I'm very good, thank you.
yeah,
I hope you're doing well tonight.
I am. Yeah, I am. I took a little bit of a nap. I was just watching the basketball NCAA tournament with my dad, so that was
Right on.
cool.
Right on. How'd
I
that
took.
go?
Oh, great. I took Gonzaga to the Final Four and Xavier to win it all because they're Catholic. So I
Okay.
wanted to take a
Oh,
Catholic
so
team,
sweet, sweet. Well, Catholic
and they
teams do
won too.
good. Yeah, they're always the toughest coaches too. Catholic coaches. Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yes.
so,
I played basketball in high school, not college, but in high school. So yeah, I agree.
oh boy, oh boy. Actually, I grew up. You want to hear a strange story? So you said Jehovah Witness with the fella earlier. I grew up when my mother and father got back together when I was 14. Till
Uh-huh.
I was
Okay.
till I was about 16. I was in the Jehovah Witness faith, and
Wow.
and then I left it when I was old enough and went, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm actually currently disfellowship because well, I guess I would have lived in sin for a while, but although I've found Jesus and I don't drink and I don't do anything bad anymore, and I even raised my son on my own, and I have for years. Um, it's and I know that to me Jesus has saved me. I see a lot of confusion for people that see that as a problem because everybody wants to, I don't know, these days wear God like it's jewelry, like it's something you can own.
Well, let's not use like a blanket statement. Not everybody, but yes, when lawlessness is abound right now. However, when lawlessness
Yes.
abounds, grace abounds more.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So growing up in that environment, I kind of get to know their viewpoint and the Jesus is God thing and Jesus is man thing, according to them, is that Jesus refers to himself as the Son of God,
Mm,
but he also refers to himself as the Son of Man. I have a different point of view after breaking away from that faith. I kind of see it like after you get to learn about physics, I guess everybody knows about it now, but the idea that there's time and space outside of this bubble and that God's abound, like he's beyond that, obviously,
mm.
way
He's
higher than
not
that.
bound by time. Yep.
Exactly, exactly. So a lot of the limitations that people place upon these conversations that seem to limit God, and then they fight over it. If you follow my drift, in the most simplistic way of putting it, is that they seem to fight over God when God is this thing that's so abound, like it everywhere and outside of time and space and here at the same time. And if we fight over it, we're fighting over the fact that we don't see that in many ways, that connection that God is, timeless and God is, all knowing, and that we have to kind of respect that and try not to war among ourselves, in this little time and space that we do exist in, although this is all prophesized, right?
Right. We must understand that we can never know the mind of God fully. And so it's a fool's game to try to do so, and
Thank
you
you.
reap what you sow.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I went the direction even guys say growing up, but I'm like in my 50s. But I went the direction once, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've actually been at parties where the very wealthy people have been, and found out like something out of a movie that they're part of like they worship Lucifer, and that Lucifer to them is the light bearer.
right, right.
And
Well,
it's
you're
so
talking
crazy
about
because afterwards it made so much sense because they would always have these lavish parties,
you're
almost all
talking
of
about
them.
the Freemasons, the highest level of Freemasonry. You become your own god.
Well, there was a group in Toronto, and I was
What they
invited.
believe, I mean.
Well, they're almost like at first you'll think they're just into New Age. I got into the New Age spiritual thing,
I
Everyone,
did too
everyone,
back in the day.
yeah, yeah, and you get so lost in that, not to judge it, but I mean, I was lost,
Yeah.
and you know that because you don't conquer those things like those
No, you
problems
could
you
judge it.
have.
You could judge it
Yeah,
righteously.
yeah. I just for me it's like, and I guess it's personal, but for me it's like all of a sudden this thing came across me, and like I don't have the problems I had before because I have a
Yep.
strength I didn't have before. I guess, it's
Yep.
hard to, yeah,
No, I know exactly what you mean. I'll talk more
yeah.
about myself soon. I wanted to let okay, somebody left.
Okay.
If you want to join, guys, as a guest, everybody gets a gift point. If you're a Christian, I am giving you more gift points than any. No, I'm just kidding. I'm giving some right to Danny right now. But yeah, everybody gets a gift point or some gifts that joins. Danny, what's up? Would you like to introduce yourself or talk about like give a 3 or 4 hour speech on the
Three,
antithesis of modern science in the art world?
3 or 4. That's I don't think it's too much. But I heard you were fighting in church today. Did
Dude,
you already talk about that?
just a smidgen. Can somebody give me a definition on smidgen? What do you think of Catholicism? That's why I have my cross right there, St. Peter's cross. I love Catholicism. It's my religion.
Did you say
Yeah, dude.
Gnosticism? You
What'd you
said
say?
not. Did you say? I'm reading Gnosticism.
Oh, it's the one above that. Wait a
Oh, okay.
second, dude. Wait, maybe dude, we just split into a parallel universe. Because now I don't see that question. I'm joking, guys. I don't see the question I just read either. Um, Okay, can you explain Leviticus 25:44 to 46? Yes, but I just don't want to right now. Okay, okay, so Danny, yeah, so it was wild. I literally told this is all on video and I subtitled it. Very thankfully for him, the moment when he was like angry with me, I had a really bad connection, so the Lord spared him that embarrassment. But I 100% believe that um, God delivered me into this situation. God often throws me into the fray because I willingly accept whatever He calls me to do. But to highlight that this guy was just not fit for the position. Um, so anyway, yeah, I'm just standing there, literally hugging the corner of the pillar as best I can after we couldn't find any seats because it was packed, and I'm trying to live stream for a few minutes because some people asked me in the chat, and the church literally has no budget for evangelization. I heard that in a different homily, so I'm like, okay, I want to. Like I immediately felt called to try to evangelize in any little way, shape, or form I can. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna record the reading. All fine and dandy. One of the ushers comes up to me. Hey, Brett, this is on video too. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. I'm live streaming on TikTok. Cool. I literally show him on camera and I'm like waving. And then a few minutes later, the second guy comes over to me, and he was an older gentleman, maybe mid-70s, but
So you beat
very
up on
large.
an old guy?
What?
You beat up on an old guy?
Oh, I mean, it don't matter their age. Like, I don't care. But anyway, let me continue on. He was way bigger than me, but anyway, you should see the other guy. No, but anyway, let me continue, guys. This is a little bit of a setup. But so anyway, he comes up to me and he's like, "If you want to do that, I'm not mocking him. This is how he sounded. If you want to do that, you should go up front." But then he ran away from me, and I'm like, okay, if you're really gonna like be an usher and you think I'm in the wrong spot, well then like take me up front to the spot you're talking about. But I could tell immediately. I immediately discerned, wait, no, he's angry. So I followed him to like double down on what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, there's seats up front. I didn't know it's packed. I'm here with my mom in the back. That's why I didn't want to get too far away from her. Oh, you should know there's always up seats. There's always seats in the front. And I'm like, okay. So then I just went in the back for a second and put my phone down to record the homily. And then he comes back a little bit later and loudly is like, I told him not to do that. And I walked up and I'm like, no, actually, you didn't tell me not to do that. You said to go up front. And then this is all like I quoted everything as subtitles. I listened to it with headphones. So I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here. But so basically, I just was going to be very specific on what he said because I didn't want him to misrepresent what he told me. So then he got like angry at me, like in that moment. He's like, I told him not to do that. I said, well, no, you really didn't. And he goes, after I've been here for 60 years and I've never seen anyone taking pictures at mass. And now what I think is that he saw my nails and immediately like some bigotry in his heart was inflamed. I think that's what triggered him, but I'm not entirely sure. That's just my guess. But there's got to be something because it was just so strange that he came at me with this fervor of anger. So I said, hey, this is part of my evangelization. I'm live streaming on TikTok to show people. I literally said all this, and he was still like, this is what he said in reply to me, what I just said to you. So I'm just like, wow. But then that's when the other usher comes over to me like, okay, like stop. And then he walks away. And then that usher says, he's not even supposed to be here right now. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah, I can understand. Like, it seems like that. Or, yeah, okay, like, I understand. Like, makes sense. Something like that. And so then a few minutes later, then I cut the live stream because I'm like, this might not go well. I wanted to give him the courtesy of cutting the live stream. So then he came over and gave me what I thought was a sincere apology. Turned out to be a fake apology because he said, oh, when it used to be when it was holy mass, that's what he said. When it was holy mass, you couldn't be taking pictures. And which is implying that it's not holy mass anymore. That was like he punched me in the gut, like a Houdini punch to the stomach when he wasn't ready for it, and that's why he perished. Anybody know that story? So
Yeah.
immediately that made me extremely like a fervor ignited in me. And the Lord's wrath was about to come upon him. So then he says, I'm getting ready to leave the church anyway, so it doesn't matter. So at that moment, I boldly, so everybody in the back of the church could hear it, publicly chastised him by saying, don't take it out on God, what any man has done to you. And then he just fell silent, and that was my mic drop. I walked away. Everybody sided with me, said they were going to tell the priest what he did and that he was wrong and everything. I wasn't even like complaining. I just defended myself. But yeah, he got up in my face and everything. Go sit down. Best was when he goes, go sit down. I can't. I'm standing in the back with my mom.
That's crazy.
But,
I never had
yeah,
something
dude. He's always just got this grumpy look on his face, if I'm being honest. I'm really trying not to gossip, but I've just noticed this about him. Is just I've never seen a smile on his face. But That's just me. So that's the first interaction I've had with him. But it was funny him trying to appeal to his age, and I'm like, it don't matter how long you've been here. First of all, a baby, once they're baptized, they're in the body of Christ too. So it don't matter how long you've been here. But that was hilarious. He had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. So that was a bummer, but you're my favorite. Thanks, Shay. What's up, Dylan? Will you be going to a different church now? No, he probably will be. What are you talking about?
Yes, I am also a Christian, and I've recently drank a whole bottle of Pepto Bismol this evening.
Not where I thought that was going at all. How you feeling? Oh no. Are you okay?
And I'm just letting the Holy Spirit release from
I
my
think he's
body.
a troll. He's a troll.
Dude, are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude.
Expel the demons, brother.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. I don't want him to embarrass himself anymore.
Good choice of words, brother.
I don't know, Danny. That seemed 100% realistic to me.
No, no, I don't think so at all.
I know.
I'm
Didn't you
not
see my eye?
in it.
Dude, so that was wild.
Well, I
Not
don't
that.
think I've ever had anything kind of. I mean, yeah, I don't think I've had an experience like that in church.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was ready for it though. Like,
Like not like a there have been like I've heard of like cases where churches have been divided, especially Protestant churches over doctrine or
Mhm.
you know, I want that probably doesn't really happen in Catholic congregations because
That's
like
what
there you know,
Michael was saying.
yeah, but like it'll be like a doctrine about, it'd be something like on tulip or south, so there's some fact about soteriology and um they can't this church literally splits like half the church leaves to start another church.
That's sad, That's always sad.
We had a portion
Never a good
here.
thing to divide.
We had a
Hmm?
portion. We had a portion when I was younger. Remember, when I said I was in the witnesses,
Right.
and they had made a rule where you weren't allowed to smoke if you were in the Kingdom Hall. You were no longer not in there. If you were a smoker, you couldn't be a Jehovah Witness, so you'd be excommunicated. I remember back when I was a kid,
Anathema.
I watched a lot of people leave the congregation for that reason because they were told they couldn't smoke anymore. I was just a teenager back then, but I remember that 4 or 5
Yeah, he was
guys.
in the Jehovah's Witnesses for like 2 to 3 years, I think.
Yeah. I actually in the
Is that the
short
witness protection program?
kind of actually. That's another story. But in reality, it's a very isolated thing, and a lot of the techniques that they use during their sermons, and I don't know if you've heard, they're very, very, very repetitive. They'll repeat the same line, the same phrase 3 times in a row, and then they
Really?
repeat it another way again 3 times in a row. I don't know if they still do this, but I know
Sounds
for
like the
years and
Hebrew
years and years.
Israelites, kind of, when they're
Well,
reading.
I have to admit, through the years, like I get called to go back there, and I go back with my father because he's hardcore, right? And so is my mother. So I would go, through the
Oh
years, and
no.
yeah, I would go, just bury it and get the old dusty, suit out and go, and polish the shoes up, and yeah, it's interesting,
Are you a
nothing
Christian
seemed
now?
to. Oh, totally, totally. Like to be
What
honest,
denomination?
I, put it to you this way: the only thing I haven't done is really get baptized, but I did have an experience where I'll just be honest. I experienced something that kind of like changed me, and I instantly didn't drink anymore or do any of the things I was doing before, which were worse. But I'm
Well,
still working on a lot of things, obviously. But
why haven't you got baptized, dude?
when we were with the witnesses, I never ever like they did it, but I always would miss it
Well,
for
they're
some
not.
stupid reason because we did it at these giant stadiums, and for some reason I would miss them or miss the chance to do it. So it was like something that just never happened growing up.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I mean, that's fine anyway, because I don't even know about. Like, I don't even think that's not even a legitimate Christian denomination in my opinion. But I just think it'd be we. baptism is so important. I mean, Jesus literally came to John the Baptist while John the Baptist was wearing the belt of truth. Remember? Remember? And he says, "Why are you coming to me? I should be coming to you." And why did
Yes.
Jesus go to John the Baptist? Jesus is sinless. He went to John the Baptist to show us that we need to get baptized.
Hmm. Yeah, and
But I
I
understand,
need
dude. I
to.
believe you 100%. You had a conversion experience and it changed your life. That happened to me
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh, okay. Because it was like a, I don't know, like almost like a light, but then it was like a weird experience, and I just felt different, like totally different. I got healthier too, healthier.
Right here, sorry, in the chat, quacked one of my best friends here. The witness's baptism is not valid as it is not Trinitarian. So it's not even a big deal. You didn't get doused with water there, but you
Oh,
definitely should get baptized.
yeah, I think so. I think so. I've been thinking about that for a while. Actually, and also I have to get to bed now. But bless
Okay,
you
dude,
all, and thank you
this
so
was
much. Take care,
awesome.
brother. Thank you.
I'm
Take
gonna
care,
follow you.
guys. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Take care, everybody, and
Come
many
back anytime.
blessings. Yeah, thank you. I will. I will. Blessings, guys.
Nice. Hi, Cheyenne.
Hello.
Do you know Danny yet? You gotta follow Danny.
Is Shane one of your friends?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. How long have we known each other, Cheyenne? What denomination am I? I'm Roman Catholic. So the the
Um,
the
a
true
long
church.
time ish.
Yeah. Danny is cool, right? Danny's the only person to make the list of someone I don't want to do a 1v1 debate with. And it would have to be like a build up over a long period of time, like Logan fighting Jake Paul at a boxing match or something. You know what I mean? It would be like a far in the future event, like Goku versus Vegeta or something, but I wouldn't want to do it otherwise.
Why
But
do you like just because you think that I'll get an upper hand rhetorically or something?
no, not at all.
Why? Oh, you just don't want to embarrass me.
Nope, not at all.
Oh, because of you like the cordial, kind of friendly, like non-debate relationship.
Matthew 7:12, yeah, just do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and you've shown me kindness, and so I think you're just a really good representative for the atheist community, and so there's no reason to get any bad blood.
Yeah, I don't. There are a couple
So
people that I don't want to
we could
debate.
debate though, but just not in like a. I don't want to be like, all right, let's do a 1v1, like, but I like having discussion, and you disagree with me, that's cool, but just not like a, you know what I mean? Not, you
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
I just don't like. There are a lot of relationships that I have that I just I'm not going to be aggro or debating mode because I value the relationship more than like that kind of dialogue. You know
You actually got me to reveal something I've never revealed in public on live stream when you
what?
questioned me. And
Was this
when I'm questioned about certain things, and since I become a new creation in Christ, I just overshare to make sure I'm honest. So I was like,
over?
my defense was just to be like, I just got to overshare completely. So
What
at that moment, I was like, I wonder if that made me earn his respect.
I oh was it the first time the first night that we
Yeah,
talked?
yeah, yeah. First
Oh,
time. Yep.
because you did say some things that I could see why. Because I asked really personal questions. I remember.
Yeah, yeah, and it immediately opened me up for extreme criticism in the chat, and I immediately started getting attacked in the
Really,
chat, but I didn't
you
care.
were that?
Yeah, yeah, back then on our first conversation when revealed this thing about myself to you because of a question you asked, then that I knew that that was going to open me up to people that are saying that they're Christians but have hatred in their heart for a
Yeah.
certain group of people. Which is going against what Jesus taught and what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says. If we look right here in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2357 is the one that's relevant here. 2357. Sorry, guys. I just got this thing. Thanks to Ethan. Oh, 2358. This is talking about chastity and homosexuality. This is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the church Jesus Christ founded. The number of men and women who have deep-seated homosexual tendencies is not negligible. They do not choose their homosexual condition. For most of them, it is a trial. They must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. Every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. These persons are called to fulfill God's will in their lives, and if they are Christians to unite to the sacrifice of the Lord's cross the difficulties they may encounter.
Mm.
Boom, right there. I just think that's really relevant.
Yeah, it's just well written.
Right? I
Hmm.
know, isn't that beautiful? So I love when people come in here and they go against that, and I'm like, okay. See, no matter what I say though, people in the chat are still gonna go against it. Like, sorry guys. Like the church does still have a teaching, but I mean that's I think as compassionate as you can possibly be if you listen to all of the other so-called Christians that just they say that the inclination is a sin, which that is not true at all. Jesus taught that it is okay to be gay. What do I mean by that? The inclination itself is not a sin. When you act on it, that's a sin. The desire itself is not a sin as long as you're actively trying to fight against it. But we all fall short of the glory of God. It doesn't mean that you're unworthy of God's love if you fall short in that area. Um, you're just supposed to remember that you're to act,
Oh yeah, now I'm
not act on your desires.
you on our first night. I specifically said you don't have to answer the question. I hope I said that right. Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, you did. But I still had to go into defense mechanism that I'm like, no, because if I say I don't want to answer it, that's gonna be just it's gonna appear as deceptive, and so I'm like, that's why I just went into overshare mode.
Okay.
But no, I wouldn't have if I wouldn't have said this to you if it was a call out right now. Then I would have kept it to myself.
Mhm.
But I'm telling you this just because like that was the moment where I'm like, I wonder if that's when I earned his respect. Because most people that are in maybe Protestant denominations would have they would have never admitted to something like that. Most of them. I'm saying most of them. I
Oh
don't want
yeah.
to say all.
I remember appreciating the answer. But for me, like, I guess I've forgotten how much of an admission that is. Like, um, but I have to remember that it's not just also amongst Christians. It's actually just kind of like North American views of like,
Right.
it's just even like, there are a lot of communities in the United States that wouldn't want to admit that, even if absent their religious convictions. It's
Right.
like in Europe, like I'm kind of a European, like I have this sexual inclination, but why would you ask? Who cares? Like you know that seems like ideal for me for people not really to care, but it's I sort of like I ironic because I'm yet asked. I was interested.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. And it didn't seem like you were asking in an angry way. It just seemed like you genuinely wanted to know, and I'm like, this, all right. I had prayed about this before I got on live that I'm just gonna try to be as honest as I possibly can.
Hmm.
So that was like, all right. I talked about it before, but just never in a debate with a stranger. I'd only talked about it with like Luna QB is a friend of mine that I knew before I turned to the Lord. So I talked about it with maybe 5 or 6 people on here. You know what I mean? But so it
Uh-huh.
was like that's all. But so that's I don't want you to feel like, oh man, I really like so I had it was like a timing, perfect timing,
Yeah.
actually.
Hmm.
Somebody wants to join. Let's see. Yata Theosophy. All right, well, we're gonna try. What's up, Michael? How are you doing?
Hello,
How are you?
doing well.
Nice.
Um, I would I would just say that I believe Jesus is God, as
But
in, but so I think of God. Let's in this metaphor, God can be the sun, and
okay, wait. First of all, what's your faith?
I grew up Christian, but I kind of see wisdom in a lot of things.
Okay, New Age spiritualism. Okay, continue.
Perhaps if you want to use a label. Um, so if God is like the sun and
What do you
Jesus
mean
is
sun? Like
like
SUN?
yeah, like the sun. This is a metaphor. So to explain my position.
I used to be into New Age spiritualism too, so I'll hear you out here for
Okay.
sure.
So I think of like if God is like the sun and Jesus is like a bucket of water perfectly reflecting that sun, then
Okay.
the rest of us are also like buckets of water, but we are not perfectly reflecting the sun. We're muddy buckets. And so through Jesus's teachings, we can then purify the water in our buckets and then get to a point where we also reflect the sun. the
Wait,
same way.
can I
But
respond?
it's hard, and most
Hold
of
on
us
one
can't
sec.
do that.
Hold on. My new friend that just joined. Give me 1 second. Everybody gets to get pointed that joins. I just want to say first of all, Yada. Is that okay to call you Yada?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
That I know that you're not a Christian, and I'm not like agreeing with it. With like I believe that Jesus Christ truly is the Son of God, and but as that metaphor, like if I wanted to use that metaphor to explain Christianity, it was good. You did a good job.
Yeah, and I think that's how it works. And in Islam, they might say the Prophet Muhammad is the perfect reflection of God, and through Muhammad. And so different people are going to use different. I think of it as an archetype. And for Christianity, Jesus fills that archetype. Either way, we do need some perfected human to give us the guidance to God. And if you don't believe in Christ or Muhammad, there's people who have gurus. Either way, or a teacher of some sort. But either way, we need these perfected humans that are perfectly reflecting God in order to know God. Or we can do it in ourselves because the archetype ultimately is within each of our hearts. And when they say you can get to God only through believing in Jesus and accepting him in our hearts, I think archetypally that is very true. It's through the heart in all traditions that we find God, and that's Jesus.
Can, can
I
I
got a
reply?
question, Yada.
Yeah, I really want to reply to him first, and then you got the next question, real quick. So I would just like to say, you definitely sound like a kind person, and the Bible or the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the church that Jesus Christ founded, actually does say that if you haven't actively rejected Jesus Christ and you've lived according to your conscience, you do still have a chance to go to heaven. So, with that being said, if you've actively rejected Christ, the church that he founded, it's our position that then you will face the second death condemnation. But Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through me. No one knows the Father except the Son, and to whomever the Son chooses to reveal the Father to. So there are not many ways to heaven. However, people who haven't actively rejected Christ can still get to heaven. That is the Catholic Church's position.
I appreciate that position.
Definitely. Did anybody else want to chime in before we get to the next question?
Yeah, so I can
Go ahead.
understand the metaphor of the Son being referred to Jesus Christ. So in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, it details how God created the earth basically. So he separated on day one. He separated the light from the darkness.
Mhm.
So that could be used as a metaphor as well. God separating the light from the darkness. Well, God is the light. We know that the darkness is obviously Satan. We know that, and we also know that God didn't create the sun till day four of creation. But somehow he separated the light from the darkness on day one. If that makes
The
sense,
angels are made out of light.
right? So day four, the sun was created, right? The sun and the moon as well.
Yeah,
But
but the Bible's not a science book, it's a theology book. So you don't have to actually in the Catholic Church we don't have to believe that it was seven literal 24-hour days of creation. You can if you want, but you don't have to. I
well,
believe in
not
theistic
not not
evolution.
7 days.
6 days of
Well,
creation,
well,
he rested on the
well,
seventh, sorry.
we know that a day with the Lord is 1,000 years. So
Yeah, 1,000 years are like a day to God, yep.
yeah, so I apply that theology to the 7 days of creation,
Hmm.
and obviously this stuff didn't take place in like one literally day, like how humans perceive it, but 1,000 years, that gives enough time for things to happen.
And it doesn't have to be a literal 1,000 years, you know that? Like there's
Well,
hyperbole.
it does. Well, it does though, because when
Oh
you're trying
no.
to the prophecies and stuff, a lot of
Okay, wait
like
a sec.
this is
You think everything in the Bible is literal? What about Matthew 7, 1-5? Judge not, lest you be judged, for the measure with which you judge will be measured out and judged against you. Why do you notice the splinter in your brother's eye, but you do not perceive the wooden beam in your own eye? First take the wooden beam out of your own eye so you can see clearly, and then you can help your brother with the splinter in their eye. Like, I mean, there's
It's such a
so that was a
beautiful
lot. So
verse.
the Bible is literal in some verses, and it is not literal in others. So do you take Do you take the Euphrates River? Do you take that to be literal? Do you take that to be when it says it's drowned up? Do you take that to be literal?
I'm not really sure. I don't have a position on that specific topic yet. I'd have to check. Any of my Catholic
What would
friends
be
in the
what would be
chat?
the metaphor? What would be the metaphor in that? How do you interpret that?
I'm sorry. Like I said, I haven't done the research on that one, so I really couldn't give you an educated answer.
Right.
You'd have to give me a verse first of all, so I could look at
Yeah.
the chapter and verse you're referring to, and then I could look at the context of where it's at in the Bible. But other than that, like, I really can't give you an educated guess, so I'd rather not
Right.
say.
So I just thought about it from my head. So I take that as being literal though. The Euphrates River is drawn up, and that's inside prophecy. So I think we're supposed to take that to be literal. I
So
don't
you
know.
think, but Jesus said he's returning soon. That's
Yeah,
what he said in the beginning. So I don't want you to think that the end is always near.
that's. I mean, uh,
It
do you,
could be at any
I
time,
believe
he
I
said,
believe
yes,
Jesus.
but
I
I don't
believe
want you
Jesus.
to be like fearful or anything.
No, not fearful. Prepared. You're supposed to stay prepared every day.
Amen. Yeah, yeah. Amen. Yep. Definitely. For he will come like a thief in the night.
So, do we take the return of Jesus as like a physical being will reappear on earth, or do you take that as kind of a metaphor as well?
Have you read the Bible, Yada?
I've studied parts of it and taken classes and read it with my dad growing up, but I'm not someone who's going to say, yeah, I read the whole Bible. I know a lot about it, about certain aspects, but yeah, I don't know the whole Bible.
I Wow, what a humble answer that was so specific because I asked this question to a lot of people, and you know what a lot of people who are not Christians say? I've read enough, da 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 da. But you gave a very honest answer, and then also admitted like and you seemed like I like take you seriously when you said you know certain parts of it. I'm like, okay, it sounds like based on what you all said, what everything you said, you have a good understanding of it based on that metaphor you gave me earlier. But you're being honest that you haven't read it in its entirety. I really appreciate that. By the way, just so you guys know, I actually download these lives in their entirety. I don't edit anything out, and then I upload them to my YouTube channel, which is just linked on my account now. The next episode is gonna premiere really soon. I literally got into a fight with an usher, but anyway, that's besides the point. But so if anybody's watched some of the other episodes, you could see Yada was probably had the most like graceful answer to that I can remember in a while. Of asking someone if they've read the Bible that's not a Christian. Usually they always have like pride about it. Like, oh, why would I need to do that? Like it's so.
And I would say Christians would say I'm not Christian, but I say that I'm Christian, right? So I believe in Jesus as our Lord and Savior. And but the way that I internally understand that and what that means to me is a little more liberal, perhaps, than most Christians would say.
Hi, Cheyenne. And I mean, we all are on different points in our faith journey. Like I said to you a few minutes ago, I was into New Age spiritualism just a few months before I realized that Christianity is the only true path. So I at one point thought that there were many different ways, and that was just like a year ago. So um, we're constantly changing as we're seeking the truth. This I am certain of. So while I need to know more about what your beliefs exactly before I could really touch on that more. I do think that you're definitely a kind person, and you sound like you're very respectful. And and the golden rule is that you're supposed to do unto others what you would have them do unto you. But that doesn't mean be nice to everyone. It means to treat others the way you want to be treated. So to tell them the truth when it is appropriate. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just really appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. And I think so in reality, and that's to say beyond the form, because I
Oh,
think of like our physical world and our bodies is temporary, and so to some extent it's
mhm.
unreal. And the eternal truth that the Bible or any spiritual path is speaking of is beyond the physical. And so at that level, it's abstract. And therefore we need to clothe it in narrative We need to give it names, concepts. And so Christianity, to me, is one form of that abstract truth that is underlying all form. It's the spirit, it's clothed, it's the narrative we've given spiritual truth. And so, yes, there is one path, but the clothing that that path can wear is determined by the culture, the time, the place, and the temperament of the people using any given path. So Christianity is good for those who it's good for. Science can even be a path for those who it's good for. And
Well, hold on one sec. I don't mean to cut you off. I've agreed with
yeah,
like 90% of what you've said. Just one or two things I disagreed with earlier. I'm not even going to touch on them, but science and Christianity are actually compatible. That's why I didn't want you to think they were mutually exclusive. So like the Big
mhm,
Bang Theory was first. The father of the Big Bang Theory was a Catholic priest. I believe in theistic evolution. We're allowed to believe that God had a hand in evolution, and I
mhm,
personally think that if the Big Bang Theory turns out to be how the universe was created, and that's how when God spoke the universe into existence, that's Genesis 1:1, then He revealed it to a Catholic priest. That's a hypothetical, of course, but so I wanted to understand. Do you think they're mutually exclusive, or because even the father of science, Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, he was a Christian.
yeah. I think that some people's well, everyone's different. So just because I agree with you. I think God had a hand in evolution, and evolution doesn't prove God's in existence.
Mm.
Um, so, but I'm just trying to articulate that there's many, for me, there are many forms that God uses to express itself. And so Christianity is one of them. And to some of us, maybe it's the best path. But I don't limit other people's spiritual paths um, as being just as viable as vehicles to know God.
So the Catechism of the Catholic Church actually also says because we're Abrahamic religions, both Islam and Christianity profess to worship the same God.
Hmm.
But our position is they're going about it the wrong way. Their position is we're going about it in the wrong way in terms of Jesus
So,
Christ and
so
his position. But that's the thing about New Age spiritualism when it kind of broke down for me is when I realized that all the religions contradicted each other in one way or another. So like um Muhammad, like he's the moral standard, he lived the most perfect
so
life
I
a man
heard
could live,
Yada.
but he's done some
I heard
questionable,
Yada
very
talk
question.
about.
He's done abhorrent things. If I'm being honest, he married a 6-year-old. I'm not going to give him any slack. He married a 6-year-old and consummated the marriage when she was 9 because Allah told him to. Uh, that's abhorrent. So right there, that one's off. He was not a true prophet of the Lord. That can easily be checked off the box. I mean, if we go down the line, I can disprove all of the other religions as being not the true path. But you can have virtues in those religions and those faiths, but the theological virtues are reserved for Christianity alone.
Yeah, and as my aunt, who's a missionary in Germany, as she would say, you know, the devil will give you 99.9% truth, but it's just that one little percent that's off that will
Half
take you
lie. Yep.
completely off the path. So
Yep.
even
Yep.
if other religions seem to be speaking truth, if they're off just a little bit, it could steer your whole salvation off. And that's coming from a Christian missionary. I'm not saying I believe that
Right. No,
position, but yeah.
I'm not sure what denomination that they're part of, but I 100% agree because like Martin Luther started the Protestant Deformation, I call it, and one man started this Reformation, took 7 books out of the Bible, among other things, verses, and he didn't even believe in free will. Changed many, many, many things. Went against the church. 95, his 95 thesis, is that what it called? Is that what it's called when he nailed 95 uh, complaints he had, for lack of a more educational term. Uh, and since then, we've never been the same. Now, there's thousands of Protestant denominations, and in Protestantism, most of them believe that you would achieve salvation just by faith alone. But the Catholic Church teaches, based on Scripture, you need faith plus good works. But
Hmm.
your good works will your faith will inspire good works.
Hmm.
Danny, did you want to chime in? We've been talking a lot.
I'm just kind of listening. That's all.
Cool. Cool, cool. Yep, you're good. I just wanted to just pause for a second. Okay, Yada, wow, yeah, this is really interesting. Yeah, feel free to jump in anytime, Danny. Just as a heads up, continuing forward. I know you're good now, but uh yeah, Yada, a lot of what you've been saying is nice. I know I can't think of a better word. I didn't want to say
Yeah,
wise because fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and I'm not sure if you truly fear the Lord yet, but it sounds like you're so close. It sounds like you're so close now. Fearing the Lord isn't fear of condemnation. Fear of the Lord is just fear of separation from His love. But
hmm,
to know His love, you have to know who He is. And I noticed you used it instead of He. Now, once again, God just chose to reveal Himself as the Father, but He encompasses the qualities of both genders. And
right.
there's actually sects within the Catholic faith. I'm not sure which exactly. I can't remember. I have to look into this more, but that refer to the Holy Spirit with feminine pronouns. Does anybody
Hmm.
know a little bit more about that? But so yeah, I think you have some great insights. That metaphor at the beginning was great, and the fact that you used muddy water, and that's why we're not a perfect reflection of God, and the fact that God made Adama, meaning ground in Hebrew, and
Right,
mud is water,
right.
and and Jesus Christ is living water.
Hmm.
You had a like that was very, very good. That's why I was shocked. I like thought I was gonna go against you, but I was like, wow, I am
Yeah,
actually like that
and
actually had some that was beautiful.
and it's beautiful how you saw that because I haven't even seen it in the way you just kind of described it. It just seemed like a worthy metaphor at the at that moment, right? Um, so yeah, it's
Wow.
I appreciate this live that you're doing, and I appreciate that you're holding a Bible there just in case we need to go there to refer. And and I think you're doing a fine job here. I just followed you, and I'm definitely going to check out the YouTube that you were just
I
pointing out to us.
I just followed you as
And
well. Yeah, I just put it in my bio finally. There's a button. I'm premiering 2 to 3 podcasts, 1, 2, sometimes 3 podcasts a day. And I make all the thumbnails myself. It's really fun and cathartic to make the thumbnails, to be honest. But so I've made since March 1st, I've made like 30 episodes of this podcast. I've talked to people from all different faiths, but there's a lost episode that was edited by my friend Jake, and that's the first conversation I ever had with Danny. So one day that will go live, but it's in the vault for now. It's a lost media. It's lost media currently.
okay, interesting.
Sorry, I'm doing a little promo because Danny's followers are in here.
Yeah, they're wondering why I'm not like skinning everyone alive. Because most of the times when I join a live, I'm like really aggressive. So
That's the beautiful nature of our friendship too. That's why I'm like, you know what? I think this is that what we were talking about earlier. Um,
Danny, are you
having
a Christian? Are you Christian?
no, I'm an atheist.
Ah, okay. So I'm sure you guys have some really good episodes then, discussing these matters.
You should actually. We've only had like a few discuss. I mean,
you've
I've
been guest on a couple. I
yeah.
got rando bandoed when you joined with your Protestant friend. That was the strangest thing ever.
Oh, with Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't uploaded that episode yet, but you're actually on video of that on that, and I have it downloaded. I don't know why they let me download it.
No.
Like the appeal didn't work. That was the strangest thing. Yeah, that was on my main, but
Yeah.
she
So
was
you're
nice.
my Catholic friend. She's my Protestant friend. What did you think about her? I don't know what y'all talked about.
We didn't really have enough time to get to know each other, but she actually looked like a slightly older version of this girl I used to date.
Oh,
That was my
okay.
impression.
Oh, okay.
We didn't,
Is,
we didn't get to talk that much, so it was
okay.
more like a physical appearance thing. But she was a beautiful woman of God.
Yeah, she has some views that will probably make you question her Christianity.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. I just wanted to be.
But she's a sweet lady. So, like her views about like she's not against same sex marriage, like
Hmm.
legally speaking. Um, she also thinks that, and this is not necessarily against, may not be against what you think, but she thinks that Muslims are way closer to God than most Christians think. Um, that Muslims, the not like the apologists that run around on TikTok or on YouTube, but like just your average Muslim, she thinks that they actually do have encounters with God, and that there are indirect ways of knowing Jesus that way. So you might want to talk to her about that.
Yeah, that would be a great topic because we were just discussing how we both do profess to worship the same God. We're both Abrahamic religions. And I had a great conversation with a Muslim the other day. Assalamu alaikum to any my Muslim brothers and sisters watching right now. I had a great conversation. Sometimes I have bad conversations. Sometimes I have good conversations. But yesterday I had a great conversation with a nice Muslim man, and he was telling me things from the Quran. We weren't going at each other. We weren't striking. He was just telling me things about the Quran, and then I would reply something that it reminded me about in the Bible. And so I think that that would be a good discussion about how, on like the surface level things about the faith, um, there could be, oh, like I mentioned earlier, there are virtues within other faiths. I just think that you can't fully, not all of the virtues are in other faiths, but you could still get great a great moral fabric a good moral fabric for society to a degree. However, I need to learn more on the topic before I speak on any particular religion. So I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, you should
I
talk because she was a missionary at Turkey, and so she encountered a lot of because like the average
Okay.
person is actually very unlike us, right? The average religious person, they're not into theology, they're not into philosophy, they're not into science, right? They're about with respect to their faith, right? They're
Hmm.
just the devout ones are into worship, into like encountering God. They're not really reading up on church fathers and debating about it, so like so you might encounter a very different type of Muslim in that setting that she's probably encountered, because I think
Right.
here, on average, are and the Christians at that, we're here kind of in a debate capacity, that we're looking for conversations and looking, to settle disagreements, and that's not what
Hmm.
a lot of religious people are interested in.
Hmm.
Um, so
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point there. Um,
I
Danny's like slowed down real quick.
I'm
Oh, gotcha.
okay. Am I still echoing? Let's see.
Nope,
Oh, it looks like
you're
I
not
fixed
on
it. Okay.
mine.
Okay. Yeah, and also she's very anti-evolution, like super anti-evolution. Um,
That's interesting.
yeah, she thinks it's crazy. I used to think it was crazy too. Now I'm sort of indifferent to it, although um I'm writing a paper right now. It's probably the only paper I'm ever really want to publish, um on criticizing natural selection,
Hmm.
but you can still accept evolutionary biology. I just think that the theorists, like biologists, are way smarter than the theory, and so but it gets complicated pretty fast. But yeah, I'm critical of natural selection as a theory or an explanatory mechanism in science. But yeah, so but she's like really, she hates like evolution.
I I mean, I've heard and seen some like artwork like the ultimate lie is evolution, and it's like a snake. Like I've seen posters. But yeah, I just want to say, Danny, at one point, if you ever want to make like a documentary or something, that's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
used to do.
So what is your
Before
background? Are you're around my age? Did you go to school? What's going on?
I just licked my camera on accident. Yeah, I graduated from college in 2018.
Yeah.
I got my major was integrated media, so that's like audio and video and just media in general because of how everything's coming together. So the more you know, the better. But it was a communication degree, and I've gone to Houston to do pediatric cancer documentaries. Went to the Tetons in Wyoming and filmed a documentary with a
Beautiful.
group that I was part of. New York City, I got to do a trip there and film a music video. It's been really cool with a educational group. I was part of the Ohio Fellows program. All these things were like educational moments, but I remember I was like I also I was full of debauchery, so I was like rock star partying at all these things as
Nice.
well. uh,
So this is like this explains a lot in terms of like why you're on here, how what you're promoting, and also your altercation, I guess, at your church. You know, it's just your personality to want to film and convert, make,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
And
I
so you're,
literally, sorry, I'm actually going to share something I've never shared on here before. I literally will pull out a camera and start recording if I'm going into an anxiety attack or a panic attack because it's my ultimate defense mechanism is to share everything because I started my YouTube channel when
uh,
I was 12.
Wow.
yeah, I actually tend to overshare too, but not as a defense mechanism. Like some of the things I've said, which thankfully were not recorded, would easily raise eyebrows. Like in terms of like nothing illegal, just kind of like if I told you, it'd be a little bit embarrassing, you know, that kind of stuff. And in fact, I'm not embarrassed by it anymore. I just don't, you know. So I tend to overshare, is what I'm trying to say, as well.
Well, hey, the Bible says that we're supposed to confess our sins, let other people know things we're going through. Um, so people know that they're not alone, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, but I overshare about things that like I don't like a
I just heard
TMI like
shameful, so I thought,
yeah, like I don't tend to overshare my flaws. I tend to overshare my like, you know, just Danny TMI. I don't want to know that, you know, that kind of thing. Not like let me not burden you, but let please carry some of the weight of, you know, of what I'm going through or something. But which is
I,
yeah.
so I just said Wendy said I was about to ask why you uploaded everything to YouTube. Uploaded what? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm not sure what exactly you were asking
I
about.
think it's asking you why you upload to YouTube. Is that
These conversations, I don't want people to accuse me of selectively editing them, so I don't edit them at all, and I just download them and upload them as is. But it also has the benefit of, see, my ultimate goal on here is to spread the gospel and to convert people to Christianity. But if people are going to go watch it, they could be, if I don't edit anything out, it could be people who actually are Christians or are like rooting for me in a sense or rooting for the faith. Um, but it could also be people that are like trying to look for mistakes that I made or trying to plot against me based on my every word. But they're also helping it out because they're giving me watch time. And hopefully, if I could get the watch time to a certain level, then ad revenue. They would also be giving me by watching it. But I want to be able to um, get monetization back on my YouTube channel. Once again, I was on YouTube way back in 2008. I was one of like the first partners on YouTube in June 2008, but also was the first person to ever do Vlogmas on the first version of Vlogmas. If you guys have heard of Vlogmas, but it was originally called the 25 Vlogs of Christmas. I didn't get credit for that, but anyway, that's the greatest thing I ever did on YouTube, and it brings tears to my eyes that
um
Jesus was in the name, Christ was in the name, but so yeah, that's why. It's just part of
Brett,
me.
do you want to? I wanted to talk to you about free will because you mentioned it a lot, and then
Sure, yeah, I know a little bit more now than when you first asked me. I had no idea who Calvin was
oh, okay,
at the
that
time.
is. Oh well, you were a baby Christian. You're still a kind of a baby Christian, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
yeah, but you've learned a lot. I mean, probably you know I would be. I was probably a Christian longer than you, and you know I would probably like trust a lot of what you had to say. But anyway,
Thanks. By the grace of God.
um, so when you say Luther rejected free will. What do you mean by that? Like, what are you rejecting?
So, well, I mean, the one quote that I'm. Wait, what was the last part of your question?
Yeah, what is it that you think Luther and Calvin and are rejecting when they're rejecting freedom?
So basically, the idea when I talk to Protestants now, they'll say like, "Oh, well, we have free will according to our nature, but our
Mhm.
nature is sinful." So they don't actually believe in free will, meaning like we can only sin. Like everything we do, like we're completely flawed and have no good in us. I think that's kind of what they're getting at. They try to like reword it, but going back to what Martin Luther said, he said, "Sin boldly, for the grace of our Lord covers us." I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's the gist of the quote, sin boldly. So Martin Luther believed you couldn't lose your salvation, that you once you just have faith, if you just profess or just have you only need faith to achieve salvation. You don't need any good works. Um so I still need to learn more about that. I don't know if I could give you a really good answer. That's why I'm just like jumbling about random things. I can't give you a good theological sound answer, but just the idea that we truly can't choose because of our fallen nature. Like everything we choose is wrong. Is that sounding right to anybody else in the chat? Any Catholic friends in here? Can anybody chime in?
Do you think God can do what's independent of his nature?
God can not do anything that's logically inconsistent with his character.
Right.
Hmm.
I didn't know that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
guess.
just it's
What
a
do
way to
you
say it negatively. You could just say God only does what's consistent with his character.
what do
Okay.
you guys think about because when you talk about free will or just freedom in general, I think most of us, not us, but some people, let's say, they think of free will or freedom to do whatever they want
Mm,
as as an ego or as someone who's obeying the flesh or the emotions
mm.
or the mind. True free will is when we go beyond the flesh, the mind, and emotions and follow the will of God. That's what free
Wow.
will really is,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
That's see that actually is the beauty of Christianity and what it means to be a Christian because okay, listen to how beautiful this is. True free will is to follow the will of God. So true free will is to be a willing servant. I'm using the word servant instead of a different S word. So true free will is to be a willing servant of the Lord. See, everyone is a servant of the Lord. You either just choose
As
to be a
opposed
willing servant or an unwilling servant. Even the
as
demons are
Yeah,
servants.
as opposed to a slave to the flesh, right?
That's
So,
the word I was
because
trying not
people,
to use.
yeah,
Let's use
oh, okay,
servant.
yes, yes, use the
Um,
positive.
yeah, I guess, do you think that the last time you sinned, Brett, you could have done differently?
Yeah, I still struggle with one mortal sin that's tied to lust.
Okay, but the last time you
So,
sinned, let's just go ahead.
sorry, I started trying to like pray the rosary to fight against it and was able to success slip of the tongue successfully do so at least once. And I mean, so I literally this sin I used to commit 6 to 12 plus hours a day, literally all day long, and I got it down to just like a tiny little foothold. You know what I mean? Minutes. So that's what I'm trying to explain is this it's something I'm hammering away at, but all of the other seven deadly sins I pretty much have under control, but lust is the final of the seven deadly sins that I'm
Okay,
most
let's
struggle with.
let's bracket that one for a second. The last time you sinned, could you have not sinned?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last time you did something right over wrong, could you have done the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the time? So that was the last time you sinned. What about the time before the last time you sinned? So second to the. Would you say that's true as well?
Yes, I'm trying to see if this has anything to do with like God being able to have foreknowledge of the future or anything like that. Is that where you're getting at?
If every time you sin, you could have done differently, then there's
Hmm.
a possibility for you to never have sinned.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
If it's the case that you could, when you sin, that you could have always done differently, then there's a possibility that there's a possible world where you never sin.
Ethan, dude, God just spoke to me through you, Danny. I literally just revealed this for the first time ever. I've never told this to anyone in my whole entire life. But earlier today, I told Ethan, and I was crying when I told him this. But when I was like 5 years old, I remember thinking to myself, I remember thinking this, I'm going to try to live a sinless life just like Jesus. And I literally just revealed that to somebody for the first time today. And then you say that. Wow, dude. Yeah.
I,
Wow.
I knew I would become a sinner, and when I was 7 in church, I asked God to take me now because I knew I was still innocent at that age. But here I am, deep into the sin.
That's
I guess
wild, Danny.
the thing is that
But
they
original sin,
would
that's where it breaks down.
right. So the
But
point
personal sin,
Wilson does. Oh, go ahead.
personal sin, Mary never committed even a single personal sin and was saved from original sin. So that's why you are correct. Some of the saints lived very, very pious lives, but only Mary is the only one to never have a venial sin or mortal sin or original sin. And there's I Father Ripperger, a great exorcist Catholic priest, said that she never even considered the personal cost a single time in any matter ever. And I'm like, but you're right. I could have been like, I don't know if I could have been flawless, but
Oh,
nobody's
I
ever done it
think
yet.
some.
But it's not impossible because Mary did it.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So then,
A,
um,
a first century Jewish woman is the most perfect person to ever live besides Jesus Christ himself. Amen. And that's why Catholicism is so beautiful. I get so bummed out. There's so much misogyny in other Christian denominations saying Mary's just a sinful woman and putting her down. And oh, why would God have preserved the mother of his only begotten son? That doesn't make sense. And it really just it grinds my gears. Family Guy reference, but yeah, go continue.
yeah. So when you do you think that if it were the case that the last time you sinned, you could have not done differently, you that it was there determined in some kind of way that in that you could have not done differently, does that you would have not you do you consider that not to be free anymore?
So, I might have to have you ask that one more time, but I just wanted to chime in on this. I also heard, I think it was also Father Ripperger that says that there was some church fathers that taught that God actually has a preordained number of mortal sins that that like he knows that you will commit. I don't know. I don't want to use a specific word that he's. I don't want to say the wrong word, so I don't want to say permit. I don't want to use that word, but there's a preordained number of mortal sins. There was some church father that taught that there's a preordained number of mortal sins that God basically there's a number on you. You know, God
Yeah.
knows exactly how many mortal sins you'll commit before you die. That was what one church father taught. So, did that have anything to do with your question?
It might. The question,
Also, we're gonna have Kim chime in a second here because she hasn't got to talk.
yeah, no problem. The question is, on your view, the way that you're thinking of what free will is, do you think someone can be free and yet not have the ability to do differently?
Well, see, ultimately, we're servants of the Lord. So that's what I was just trying to explain earlier. The beauty of being a Christian is accepting that free will is being a willing servant of God. So that's my answer. Does that make any sense?
It
It
sounds like
seems like it doesn't make sense. It should make no sense at all. True free will is to give up your to take up your cross, give up your desires to do the will of God. That is true free will. That's as Yada was trying to describe it, I think, a minute ago. Oh, he dropped out, I think, on accident. Try to
yeah.
get him back in.
Okay, but then it sounds like then there's a sense in which when you act either righteously or sinfully and you could have not done differently, you don't want to say you weren't free. That's what it sounds like.
Hmm. So the difference between Martin Luther's view and the Catholic Church's view, in my opinion, I'm a lay Catholic. I have no authority in the Catholic Church. Luther, like the Protestant Reformation, believed that no matter what, like we're just nothing we do is good. But in Catholicism, we don't think that we're just completely horrid people. Not horrid people, but spiritually. Can somebody explain this? I need help. I need bailed out here, guys. Um, like in 2008. But so it's kind of funny because yeah, in a way, I don't yeah I don't really know what to say. Yeah, my free will to me is giving up my free will.
Well, explaining that is like saying
It's not logical.
basically
It's not logical. It's not logical to me even in my head as I'm saying it. But that's okay.
explaining that is like saying basically most people don't mean to sin, and they don't mean bad by it. They just have an action in anger, lust, or jealousy that causes such.
My pit bull just got in here. Yes, Michael.
Stop calling me
Yeah.
that.
Michael is like trained in theology. I'd like to see Michael and Danny do a real 1v1 situation, but Danny was just having a fun little time with me. That was fun.
Yeah,
Like that wasn't like a Parker's here? Really?
looks like Parker's here. Yeah. Why are you mesmerized, Brett?
Because I've heard about him from my father, but I've never seen him.
From your father, you said?
Yeah, my dad doesn't go to church with me.
Oh, but
People
your
always tell me that I
Parker?
should debate Parker. Yeah, but I've never watched his stream. I just followed him. That's why I was mesmerized. Just funny timing. Danny went away. But yeah, I just followed you. This is my second account, by the way. My main account is Little QB. Yeah, so I have to follow you on there. I just literally never knew his username, so that's why I was never able to follow him. So that's why I was mesmerized that my first opportunity to follow him was him here, you know?
I see. But yeah, maybe I don't know what your pit bull's name is. Is it Michael? What is it?
Michael, yeah.
Oh my
What
gosh,
his control
He's
is?
not
that is
actually a
not gonna
dog. He's
stick.
just really smart.
Uh-huh. I don't know what his view of freedom is. So if he wanted to talk about that.
My view of freedom?
This is my
what
main account, Parker.
Freedom in what
Yeah.
sense? Like free will?
I usually do debates on here.
Yeah, how do you distinguish between a coerced action and a non-coerced action or free action?
Coerce means that you are being obligated to do it under threat of punishment.
It just means not free.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying that would you ever say to I'm asking you how you use the terms. When you tell someone, when you say that action wasn't free or that person has no free will, what do you mean?
If someone has free will, it means they have the ability to dictate the direction of their own life.
Okay, that's compatible with determinism.
It's really not, though. Determinism means that someone else determined what you were going to do ahead of time.
No, that's not what determinism is. But determinism might imply that, but determinism is just saying for every event, there's a prior set of antecedent conditions that necessitate that event rather than a different one. But the idea there is that your definition is a definition that a compatibilist or a determinist could adopt because it doesn't contradict that all events have prior antecedent conditions that necessitate them.
Okay. And your point being?
The point being is that it's well, you could, under that definition, that's compatible with God determining all of your actions.
God predetermining all of your actions does not coincide with free will whatsoever, though.
No, but the way you define free will, I don't see a contradiction.
Free will means you have the ability to make your own choices with your own human consciousness.
Yeah, that's compatible with a deterministic outlook of freedom.
not Calvinistic determination.
I don't see why I wouldn't. What's the contradiction?
Calvinistic determination means that your choices were all preset ahead of time and you have no control over what you do or what you're going to do.
That's not how they define it. But they accept compatibilism, right? So compatibilism, the idea is that someone's free when they can do what they want, or what they fundamentally want. And so if you have the ability to accomplish what you most want, you're free. Now that's compatible with God being deterministically deciding everyone's actions, which is why I don't think your definition is very informative.
May I
Real quick, guys.
interject?
Interjection from Chris in 1 second, and also from me. I just now realized why in 21 Pilot's song "Ode to Sleep" he says, "I'm not free. I asked forgiveness 3 times, same amount that I denied. I 3-time MVP this crime." I never noticed that first line, "I'm not free," might have pertained to the fact that he comes from a Protestant Christian denomination. It may have had something to do with that. I've never thought about that before. Anyway, sorry guys. Chris, would you
Um,
like to interject? And Kim hasn't
yeah,
talked, guys.
in a world full of free people, we have free people creating laws for society to function without harm to one another. So you are still free people, but by the free will of people who follow God, we have laws.
Yeah, I'm just not
So
seeing.
you are free and others are free, but in amongst free people, there will be persecution.
I'm just saying that the definition that Appearance gave is a definition that a compatibilist could adopt. In principle, a Calvinist could be quite comfortable with your definition.
No, they wouldn't.
Well, is your view compatible with determinism?
My view is not compatible with determinism whatsoever.
Okay, you define. Could you offer your definition of freedom again?
I offered you my definition of determinism, and you said that's not how they define it, even though I was a 5-point Calvinist at one point prior to my conversion.
No. Determinism is a broader philosophical term, not a theological term, right?
You are using it in reference to the theological, not to the secular, though.
Wait, but wait. For Catholic philosophy, as well as many theologians, will use philosophical technical language like determinism,
Yes, but
to
in reference to
assess their
theology, yeah,
theology.
but it's about the connotation in which it's used. It's about the where it's being used. It's about is determinism like being used in a philosophical sense or in a theological sense? In a religious sense, determinism means God determining your actions ahead of time before you do them.
Well, that might be like theological determinism or fatalism, theological fatalism or theistic fatalism. But you can be a fatalist and be an atheist, right? In the sense, I mean, unless you already might think. I mean, I think fatalism is that term is used mostly in theological circles, but I don't see why, in principle, you couldn't use that term and not be a theist. But the point is that determinism is the view that for every event, the prior set of antecedent conditions bring about that event rather than another event, right? So
Thank
now,
you.
is your
Thanks, Ethan,
notion
for the gift.
compatible with determinism as I outlined?
But what do you perceive? What are you defining as predecessing events? Are you defining like your individual choices determining your future choices, or events of the past uncontrolled by you determining your future choices?
Yeah, it's basically more like the latter. Again, determinism is bracketing maybe starting conditions of the universe or something like that, or laws of nature. The idea is that every event has a set of antecedents, that's to say prior conditions that necessitate that event rather than another.
Okay, but
So
how
is
is
your
that?
definition of freedom compatible with that?
But is this to say like people that are in certain environments are more obligated to make certain decisions, or is
I
it,
don't. I don't. The notion of obligation is kind of vague, but I don't really
well,
see how.
who's obligating it? Who's like bringing about these conditions that are like preceding the events or the actions that you do?
Are you
Like who
trying to
is
get
bringing
clarification on what determinism is? Because determinism could
I'm
be
trying
true
to,
and there not be agents, right?
because it was broad. Your definition was very broad, and I'm trying to narrow it
Yeah, it's
down.
a very broad definition. There's not a narrower definition of determinism that necessitates agency or anything like that. You could be in a deterministic universe and there not be any agents. So I don't know why you need further clarification. Do you understand what I'm saying when I define determinism?
Yes, I understand in the broad sense, but not in the narrow. Like, how does this relate
There is no
to
narrow. That's like saying if I
what?
offer a definition
Why are you
of
raising your voice at me?
if I offer a definition of bachelor and I said a married man, and you're like, well, I want the narrow definition of bachelor. That's not going to make any sense, right? There is a sense of determinism that I offered. That's what it is in the philosophical literature. To ask for a narrow sense, I don't even know what you're asking for.
Because you said that conditions that precede your decision determine your
I didn't say
decision
my
ahead
decision.
of
I didn't
time.
say anything about decisions. Determinism is simply that every event has a set of prior antecedent conditions. I'm being redundant there to clarify the language. Um, a set of antecedent conditions that bring about that event or causally bring about that event, you could say, um, rather than another one.
Okay, and how does that contradict my definition of free will, or how does my
So I'm
definition of
wondering if the definition you offered is compatible with determinism.
free will, as defined by myself, is the ability to choose your own direction in life, whether or not it is morally reprehensible?
Yeah, that's compatible with determinism.
In what sense?
Hello,
Hello.
I'm
Hey,
Dr.
Assalamu alaikum.
Stranger. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Yeah.
Good.
Doing good. I didn't know if you saw I was doing the Naruto hand signs for you to see if you noticed that I like Naruto.
Oh, Naruto
Yeah,
hand signs.
I'm just saying. Well, anyways, I'm just saying that
Go
your
ahead.
definition is compatible with determinism because there's nothing about having the ability, having an ability to. What was the last part of your definition?
Could I clarify what determinism is?
No, I already
point of view.
clarified.
Yeah, he already explained it. I thought. You want to clarify though what Danny said or what Michael said? Who are you trying to like rebuttal, or who do you just go ahead and speak if you want to chime in since you just joined? If you had something on the topic.
What was it? I'm gonna write it down because I don't want to forget it. It's the ability to what?
Free will is the ability to make your own decisions with your own judgment, regardless of how morally reprehensible it is.
Yeah, that's compatible with determinism.
No, determinism means that your choices are set ahead of
No,
time.
no. As determinism as so outlined in the philosophical literature.
Whose philosophical literature? Because I can find 8 different philosophers that disagree with what determinism means.
Okay, Michael McKenna, Derek Pereboom, Vargas. I mean, name one philosopher that writes on free will? Name one.
St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, Aquinas is not a philosopher of free will. Who currently? Because remember, I'm offering a definition of determinism as understood today. Okay, there's a notion of. I'm not even sure if the term really existed prior to.
But it did. I can find
last.
numerous pieces of literature from Augustine of Hippo or St. Thomas Aquinas or Aristotle or Plato that it
Are they philosophers of freedom?
Let me clarify, because this is going back and forth infinitely, it seems.
And infinitely, what it's been like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, not really, dude. Yeah, this has been a great discussion. Actually, I've been learning a lot. Danny sounds like he's been very interested in the topic. Both Danny's actually my best friend. That's the best friend that I have that is an atheist. There we go.
Okay, well,
and
look, how
Michael's
about
one of
this?
my top 4 Catholic friends.
We'll drop the term determinism because I don't want to argue what. I mean, I could give you my citations, but
it's just self-determination. That's what that is. What you're defining free will is self-determination, which is absolutely synonymous with determinism.
Parker's saying W, Danny, in the chat.
So if you look, thank you. So first
what
of
up,
all,
Parker?
I'm going to cite the SEP, which is one of the most reputable internet sources for philosophy. Causal determinism is, roughly speaking, the idea that every event is necessitated by antecedent events and conditions together with the laws of nature, which is basically what I said. In fact, almost word for word. Okay, that is what philosophers understand today of what determinism means. Now, whether you want to call that determinism or not, I'm not interested in that. So let's just get rid of the word, since you want to contest me on the definition. I'm just going to ask, is your definition of freedom compatible with the idea that every event is necessitated by antecedent conditions?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay.
Why can't it be?
Because you are determining your own direction.
You are that is compatible with determinism.
But you're keeping making that claim. Let me just explain what determinism is.
Go ahead, buddy. Dr. Stranger, go ahead.
The determinism in the strict sense is
If what you mean by you determine your actions is that you cause your
Wait,
actions,
let me explain.
are you
Just
going
let
to
him,
encourage? Are you going
Danny,
to
hold
encourage?
on. Danny. Just let him go.
Let me explain,
Danny's
please.
getting upset.
Uh,
No, he's not.
so, in a strict sense, that in nature, in physics, if you have like one particle, you know the position of the particle and the direction it's moving in, you can determine at any point in time where it's gonna be. Now you can do the same if you add another particle or some objects. You can decide if it's gonna collide and change direction. And the view is that the universe consists of not one or two
Hi.
particles, but many more. But any number of particles you can determine from every
Hi,
position
everyone.
and direction and velocity
I don't
where
know
it's
if
gonna
you can
be
hear
at
me.
any point in the future.
Kim, we can hear you. Kim, did you want to say something?
Oh,
I've been wanting Kim to speak for a
sorry.
long time.
Okay, I'm so sorry to disturb you guys. Hi, Brett. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, good, good. Hi,
I'm glad to see
everyone.
you.
Hi, Kim.
Okay, I just want to keep it short and simple. When it comes to free will, I think exercising free will will be exercising our will and making our decisions according to our faith, which would mean according to Christianity and the commandments. So when we sin, like if just say a person commits a sin, like you did a sin, you sinned. How do we feel afterwards? Does it worry us? And or if it doesn't worry us, then it's a problem. So that's why we have a conscience. And another thing is when it comes to the Lord, I would say there's no sitting on the fence. It's either a yes or a no. And the thing is as well, when we knowingly sin, that is where it's a problem.
I think this is a derailment of what I was trying to say. The point is that um, the appearance's definition of freedom is compatible with determinism, and he's saying is not. If it's incompatible with it, then I want to know the contradiction.
Because
There's no contradiction.
there's also a difference between free will and freedom, right?
Well, that the way that philosophers use those terms, sometimes they differentiate them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say free will is a misnomer, and we should be just talking about freedom of action. But sure, there's not a settled sense of free will, which is precisely why you have to ask someone, "What do you mean by free will or freedom of action?" Okay, so there's not.
Because
Well,
free will
according
is something,
according to Plato, it
when you say
says that.
free will,
Continue.
free will, if a person says free will, I'm just saying on an ordinary day, free will seems to be like an ambiguous statement. So people take that differently, two different ways.
This is exactly the case, and it's
You know?
actually true in philosophy today that there's not a univocal sense of free will or freedom of action. Right now, these are associated with different types of thoughts, but that's why when you have conversations about freedom, it's good to ask, well, what do you mean by freedom? What do you mean when you say we don't have free will in X Y Z case? Okay, it's not
Yeah,
fatally.
there's the extreme view that everything that exists is just a result of uh, all the all the matter, physical matter.
Well,
So even the brain,
Most philosophers are determined.
neurons
Well,
in the brains.
according to Plato, and this is from the University of Stanford, it says that free will is incompatible with determinism because no one would be held morally responsible for any actions in a deterministic world in the sense no one would deserve blame or punishment.
Yeah, most
Ding
philosophers.
ding 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 ding. W Michael in the chat,
Yeah,
guys.
most philosophers disagree with that today. Most philosophers think that Plato was
Yeah,
wrong.
well,
But this,
contemporary philosophy does not hold a candle
according
to Renaissance era theology or philosophy.
Okay, well, okay. Well, I'm just pointing out that if you're just appealing to Plato as an authority, right?
Well, Aquinas as well. I can read you his citations on that as well. It's the same thing.
He's trying to say you're.
I'm telling you,
appealing to
what
authority.
philosophers do you think are compatibilist or determinist?
I'm sorry?
What percentage of professional philosophers are compatibilist or hard determinist?
I don't know that off the top of my head, and
Yeah,
I'm sure you
about
don't
60
either.
to 70%. Okay, so the point is that if I were to place stock in anyone, right?
Are
Which
you
I don't.
replacing?
I
Are you
actually
just
have
appealing to
independent reason.
authority right now?
Yeah, he's appealing to Plato's authority as well as
No, hold
others.
on. He's saying it's not. All he's saying is basically like his belief is credible, and it's a credible.
Yeah, Plato is not credible to me, not in this case. I think if I had to put my credence levels on an authority, if we had to do that here, I would place it on contemporary philosophers today, not on Plato or Kant or Descartes on this issue, right? But the point is
So I
that
take it you're not a substance dualist.
I'm not a substance dualist.
All right.
St. Peter's Cross.
Again,
take
physicalist and accept libertarian free will, but which is the kind of free will that I think my appearance is trying to go for, but I'm not so sure. It's not clear because his definition of freedom doesn't contain a notion of the principle of alternate possibilities that could have done otherwise clause, and doesn't contain a notion of sourcehood, which are two hallmarks of being a libertarian about freedom.
Okay, but let's talk about this logically.
If I'm
One
on
question:
determinism,
do animals have free will?
Why do you want to change the subject like that? I don't understand.
What do you mean change subjects?
Because we've gotten to that point. Hold on. I think it's a very good segue because we've gotten to the point where we realize that there's an impasse there, right? Like there's an impasse. You're going to appeal to the authority of like the idea that most or 70% of. I mean, do you have a study that shows that? I mean, I don't know where that.
Phil Paper survey. They poll professional philosophers every 10 years.
Phil Papers.
Yeah, Phil Paper survey, 2020. But the idea here is that I didn't appeal to authority, right? That's what a parents did, right? And I don't think that authorities will matter here because there are independent reasons for rejecting Plato's and basically anyone before Hobbes and Hume on how to understand the dichotomy between freedom and coercion or freedom and non-freedom, right? It was traditionally before Hume characterized in terms of either you're choosing between freedom or causality. But after Hume, that distinction was rejected, right? And or called into question rather. And I think for very good reasons. But I don't think Plato said this, therefore I'm justified is going to help.
If I were to say the wall is the floor, it most certainly is. It would be determinism for you to think weird of that.
I don't know what can you repeat that? I don't know what you're saying.
If I were to say the wall is the floor, it most certainly is. You'd think weird of that. That's determinism. I've just determined your mind state on the words I've said.
Okay, yeah, I am a determinist, but
based on my free will of determining that your mind state through a few words that would confuse.
Hold on, Danny, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What part of the Phil Papers just demonstrates that 70% of philosophers are aligned with determinism?
Are you there with all the questions?
Yep, I'm here right now.
Okay. So did you scroll? Did you Control F free will?
Control F determinism.
Let's double check.
Yeah. So there's free will.
Yeah, and then there should be compatibilist and hard determinist. What is the combined percentage?
Compatibilism. Well, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean determinism.
No, it doesn't necessarily. Actually, you're just quite wrong on that. Compatibilism is endorsing the idea that free will is compatible with determinism. That's why it's called compatibilism.
That's soft determinism, right? That's
another name for it, but soft determinism is still determinism.
Okay. So, well, you meaning the belief that free will and determinism are compatible? Okay.
Right, and usually when people self-identify as compatibilists, they're endorsing a sense of freedom as compatible with determinism.
When you said 70% were determinists,
no, I said that if you look at compatibilists and add up to the hard determinist, right, you should get around 60 to 70%.
What about when determinism dictates free will? When determinism determines how you will be in any given state or any given situation, and everything is determined because of the actions you took. And the chain of events of actions from there would be determined by the new thoughts and the new actions continuously. And then everything would be determined based on one action at some point in the present, past, or future. Then it wouldn't. It would be free will, but it'd have the guise of being determined.
Oh, and I'm looking at it right now. 59.1% accept compatibilism, and 12% are determinists, and that adds to what I was saying.
I don't understand how determinism can be compatible with free will.
Well, that's the debate, right? And I think it's quite clear. I mean, look, I'll give you a definition of freedom that's compatible with determinism. That
free will.
Yeah, free will.
Not freedom.
You understand that there's not a univocal sense of free will.
And right, but you understand that there is a definite distinction between free will and freedom.
But if you said right, then what you just said contradicts your previous statement.
No, I'm saying I'm sorry. I should have. Okay, let me instead. I rescind right. I'm saying you understand that freedom and free will are different, right?
Who are you appealing to?
Well, no.
What philosopher are you appealing to for that?
Okay, do you think that I'm just asking what your position is?
My position is there's no fact of the matter about that. Philosophers and lay people will use the term free will, freedom, and freedom of action in all sorts of ways. It's indeterministic for me in terms of how the terms are used.
Well,
okay.
Free will would be for an example like your response to something, but your response to something could be predetermined. While being free will, you freely responded in that way, but you're going to respond in that way no matter what, in all circumstances.
What is that in the background? It sounds like a small mammal that's having.
It sounds like a bird.
Breathing.
It's a bird.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Also, guys, somebody said the records are a distraction. It's just because there's no video. Nobody has video, so I'm trying to have a visual element to this because I'm going to download this entire stream and upload it unedited as long as it's able to be downloaded because sometimes TikTok, if you go too long, they don't let you download it. But it'll be on my YouTube channel in the next couple of days. I just actually linked that in my bio. So thank you to Danny, Michael, Chris, Love, and Dr. Strange for coming in here and talking so far. We're having a great discussion. Thanks, guys. I'm just letting y'all have the floor for now because I talk so much.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Listen, so I'd like to make a distinction. That when I think of free will, okay, in terms, it's a concept that's part and parcel to the philosophy of mind, and so free will in this instance has has implications for moral responsibility. It's it's a prerequisite to hold individuals accountable for their action. It's the ability for someone that to make a choice that is not entirely determined by external factors. When we talk about freedom, I think of it as the absence of external constraints or restrictions on my actions or choices, not internal.
Yeah, but that's ambiguous. It sounds like what you're saying. It could be compatible with how compatibilists talk about freedom. The idea. Are you saying that there's indeterminacy, and with respect to there not being external conditions that necessitate an outcome?
In terms of free will.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Freedom. I think that there's a possible. I think that there's a lot of intuition that we could posit that free will does exist, that it can exist inside of.
Yeah, but I don't know what you mean by free will here.
Let me ask you something, just so I can back up. Are you a physicalist?
No.
Okay, so what would you? You would what are they called? Property dualist or physical dualist?
Yeah, I technical term is perspectival dualist, but
guys, tap the screen and share the live, please.
I need to write that one down. Hold on, what was the?
Well, it's coined by Akil. I take mostly Akil Bilgrami's views on the mind and on freedom, but he's sort of in me.
Hold on, can you perspective?
You're not going to find an entry for that. It's kind of a coined term by one of the philosophers I follow at Columbia. So you're not gonna, but it's called perspectival, like perspective, perspectival, like the dualism. I mean, you might find something, but and if you were to Google search it, but basically, I take the view of freedom as characterized in a book called Knowledge and Self Knowledge and Resentment.
Okay,
You like this, Michael?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just got it. I got this from Underdog Records. He's been in business for 47 years. My dad's been going to him since he was like 13.
That is
I mean,
pretty
well,
cool.
so firstly, I would just like to throw out there that if you're using such an esoteric and not widely agreed upon sense of dualism, I could hold the same argument against your position of dualism as you're trying to hold against mine,
I'm
again,
not giving an
in
argument.
regards to compatibilism.
I'm not giving an argument for against physicalism or dualism, so I don't know why. I don't understand your criticism.
No, I'm just saying that your criticism of not aligning with contemporary philosophers falls flat in the sense of like
Because the view that I adore
you're
is
hypocritical in this sense.
wait, no. This doesn't seem very smart to say. The point is that the way that I understand the mind is related to the body is unique with respect to property dualist, substance dualist, and other non-physicalist views of the mind. So to use one of their phrases to characterize my view is to mislead you. So you just want to be misled?
Well, no, I just think that if you're going to make the cheap jab at saying that you're more credible in your approach to to analyzing determinism or versus free
I'm
will
just
versus
saying that there's
compatibilism
look.
just by appealing to
No, this is
authority, this is
silly.
just as fallacious.
This is
It's just
pure
as
silliness,
fallacious.
right? The
No,
point
this
is
is
that
dude.
there
How do you not
is
see
a
your
sense.
fallaciousness?
Let me explain your silliness, okay?
Go
There
ahead.
is a univocal sense of determinism used in the philosophy of and metaphysics, in other words.
Guys, wait. Right now, Danny is trying to prove silliness, and he's trying to prove fallaciousness. That's where we're going. Silly versus fallacious in the chat. Which one do you want to win? Go ahead, guys.
Okay. So the reason why this is silly is that there is a unified sense of determinism that philosophers use. Okay. That is pretty much agreed upon in terms of what it means and how it's used in philosophical dialogues. Okay. Now, the term dualism is actually too broad. If I say I'm a dualist, there's an open question about what that might mean. It might mean substance dualism. It might mean property dualism, which are the two most common forms of dualism, as you pointed out, right? But I reject both of them, okay? So for me to say that I'm a dualist might be accurate, but for me to say that I'm a substance dualist or property dualist is to be inaccurate. So there's another name that is used in the circles of people that accept my notion of the mind and as it relates to the body. And we call it perspectival dualism, as to not confuse people into thinking that we endorse what typical substance dualists and property dualists take. So I, this is comparing apples and oranges with respect to my criticism of Michael when he said that where are you getting the sense of determinism? Well, the sense of determinism that I provided is pretty widely accepted in philosophy, which is
Contemporary
precisely why
philosophy.
distinguishing my view from other forms of dualism is necessary.
Well, I mean, again, I still don't think what I'm pointing out is not necessarily that there isn't more ambiguity that would lend to the effectiveness or the utility of further describing your position. Scope. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
See.
Can you guys?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because my AirPods just went dead. So what I was saying is that that's not necessarily my issue here. That's not my take. My take is that you're appealing to authority is in the same capacity
When did I
fallacious.
appeal to an authority?
When you said that you believed that just because 70% of modern day philosophers agreed with compatibilism, that you were more credible.
No, that's not
That's
what I
what you
said.
said verbatim. That's
I know,
exactly what you
no,
said.
you're misunderstanding me. Here's what I said: that if we have to take authorities, which I don't think we need to, right? Because I think there are independent reasons for accepting one characterization of free will over other. If we have to take authorities, I don't think there's a reason for me to accept Plato's account any more than the 70% of philosophers that reject Plato's account, right?
I think Danny did say that. Danny did say if we have to take an authority. I think he did say if we have to. I think he did have that caveat on it.
But personally, I don't think anyone should be a compatibilist simply because 70% of philosophers are compatibilists. I think actually
That's an appeal to the majority, right?
Yeah, well, especially it's philosophers themselves place so little stock in what the consensus views are in philosophy, and I'm included in that, right? I don't really think it matters that 90% of philosophers disagree with me or you or whatever, right? It's not science, it's not math, right? They're not established facts in the discipline, okay? So and which is why I think it was actually kind of silly to play to any authority, okay? But if we have to play an authority, then I would place stock in the modern consensus rather than the previous views of these famous figures in the history of philosophy.
Okay. Well,
and Mitch has got
again,
it right.
I don't remember you. Okay, so I'll concede because I don't remember you making that.
Yeah, Mitch
that
says it right.
that
Philosophy
caveat.
means zero, and it means almost zero to me.
Guys, that's why I don't edit these at all. I will be posting this in its entirety as long as it's able to be downloaded. So if anybody wants to fact check that, I'm going to be watching the premiere in the live chat on my YouTube channel. It's linked in my bio. And then either tomorrow or the next day it'll be on. But we'll be able to see. So, but I do think that Danny actually did have that caveat on that. So, yeah, I just thought that'd be a
That's
great
fine.
time to
No,
mention why I don't
that's
edit.
definitely,
Yes,
I would
but when
say,
entering,
and it sounded like I wasn't the only one that understood that as the implication. But
well,
I don't
when
think anyone should adopt a philosophical view merely because there's a consensus or because someone said it.
I think that there's a lot of people that would.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't see. I'm saying they don't need to be committed to it. Whereas I think differently in the case of math and science.
Bootleg.
Yeah, but when you enter into a philosophical debate with somebody such as myself, who is a Roman Catholic who studies Thomistic and Augustinian philosophy, you're going to have to know ahead of time that I would appeal to an authority because morals appeal to a high authority in the first place in my worldview. Like, I'm not coming from a secular perspective.
What?
I'm sorry?
An authority for what? I'm not disputing you on a theological ground.
Yeah, but when in terms of philosophy, free will connects directly to morality, which is a theological concept. Because
morality, theological concept.
Because free will all of a sudden is a presupposition to good and bad, and then that connects directly to
this is just again, this is your views. There are theistic philosophers that even disagree with that, including Catholics.
There are.
Okay, so I'm just saying that when the only time where I thought it was effective to appeal to a consensus is that there is a consensus view about how the term determinism is used in philosophical discussions about freedom. Okay, and so when you said that I'm using some kind of proprietary definition, or at least you might have insinuated that, that's when I cited philosophers and the SEP as to show that I'm using a very common notion of determinism or common sense.
And I respect that you are citing contemporary philosophers, and I'm not studying contemporary philosophers because I think philosophy has taken a huge downfall since the predecessors that have came before the contemporary philosophers.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but whether free will is compatible with determinism is not a theological question.
Are you actually sorry to tell him
that? Well, I mean, I'm just saying that he's saying that the questions about free will and how it relates to morality and determinism are done in a theological context, but I'm saying that that no, absolutely not. Right? These discussions occur in a much broader context, a philosophical one, and arguably a scientific, although I wouldn't agree with those people.
Yes, but if you're citing a philosophical concept, most philosophical concepts are derived from predecessors. There's usually nothing brand new under the sun. They got their idea from somebody else.
What did Plato mean by determinism? You cited now. This is gonna screw you over, because Plato's notion of determinism is basically universal causality, which is just compatible with the notion that everything has a cause, every event has a prior set of causes, which is what I'm saying. So the predecessors to this conversation would agree with how I'm characterizing determinism.
Yes, but they also cite making a decision between true good and vices, like Aristotle. And what is your definition? What is your definition of true good then?
True good. I don't even know what's the difference between a true good and a good.
That's a 2 Chainz brand, I think. True.
I don't know 2 Chainz.
Yeah, I don't know what he means by true good. It's supposed to just good.
Good versus evil, essentially. What's your definition of good? True
What ought
good
be
is just
done, or
semantics.
what ought be done.
Okay, caused by who? Like, who is telling you what should and should not be done?
Who is telling me?
Like, what tells you not to go kill somebody? What tells you not to be a thief? What
My
tells you
stance,
not?
my stance is on these kind of events.
So you're saying that
God's
good and
law
evil are
and
opinionated
morality.
issues?
No, they're
Are you
stand.
hold on, out of curiosity, are you an internalist,
I
Danny?
differentiate between opinions and stances.
No, I was asking you, are you an internalist
About what?
in general? And like, would you consider that you're an
No such
internalist
thing
about
as
like?
internalism has different meanings in all these. Like, there's internalism about justification. There's internalism about content. There's internalism about reasons. What are you talking about?
So, like, maybe content internalism or,
I don't have a solid answer for you, but I lean that content externalism. But I can be convinced otherwise. I haven't really done a lot of research on that other than the little I've read.
what about like epistemic?
I'm an internalist with respect to justification.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea there is that Plato, Kant, Descartes, even I would even anticipate some of your, Aquinas and some of the other church fathers would agree to my sense of determinism.
I mean, they would. If you're talking about Catholic Church fathers, determinism is going to be scoped through a theological lens, as in God determining things prior to them happening ahead of time.
Is to be clear, to clarify, is Aquinas a church father?
Yes.
Okay. So does Aquinas ever give his sense of what determinism is as opposed to freedom?
Yes, he does. I haven't finished reading that article yet.
Okay. Let me look it up. Let me see.
That's not devil music, guys. Ozzy's literally a Christian. You gotta listen to lyrics, guys.
What was the question? I'm sorry. What was the question about Aquinas?
I want to know if he defined what determinism was, and let's see if it's compatible with what I offered. Which I'm gonna bet. I can bet money on that it's gonna be compatible with what I've been saying. But I didn't read Aquinas to this extent.
I don't think that he defined determinism.
I don't think he did either, but he's saying he did.
He discussed like the relationship between providence, free will, and like causal determinism. But I don't think that he
I don't
was.
even know. I mean, they would use other phrases like universal causality or something like that.
I don't even think it was like an understanding back then. I don't think that was.
Well, there definitely was an understanding of everything being caused, and definitely, that's so. If everything is caused, then to say that determinism is to say that every event has a prior set of antecedent conditions that necessitate it. That fits. That's compatible with Aquinas' notion of determinism. And if Aquinas is following Aristotle and Plato, then I know that Aristotle and Plato would agree with me about the sense of determinism that I've invoked. So
in the definition, but not that it's compatible with free will. They would disagree.
No, of course they don't agree that it's compatible with free will. But the point is that when I gave a definition of determinism, you were fighting me on that ground.
Okay, but why are you getting stuck on that ground if the debate was about if it's compatible?
You've conceded I've not offered a proprietary definition of determinism. In fact, the sense of determinism that I offered might even be used in the theological context of human freedom and God and divine foreknowledge and providence.
The definition of determinism, according to Oxford, is that the doctrine of all events, including human action, are ultimately determined by causes external to the will.
That is a more narrowed sense of determinism, but the SEP, again, there can be determinism when there are no agents.
The only way that this works, hold on a second. The only way compatibilism works in this sense is if you narrow, I should rather say broaden the definition of free will to actually just mean like generally speaking freedom, not actual free will in terms of like the ability to have like moral responsibility and agency over one's actions.
I forgot how you're differentiating between free will and freedom.
That's okay. So no. So going back to free will and freedom. Basically, free will is like, again, the individual, like it's an individual's ability to make choices that are like not determined by external factors. So like uh, it's like essentially saying that you can. It's a prerequisite for holding individuals accountable for their actions, and freedom being something that's just not like it's the absence of external constraints.
So free will has a moral dimension to it, and freedom doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've read. I mean, people do this. They define freedom in terms of like moral responsibility, and I don't understand any of that. I don't think it makes much sense. But
Well,
the
that's like kind of the crux, right? That's like the crux
no,
of the
I
argument
think
here.
well, not in my opinion. A lot of people agree with you. But I don't think that's the crux at all because
No,
there are.
what I'm saying is, no, sorry. I'm saying that's the crux of my argument, at least, is that it's not compatible with determinism in this sense.
Free will isn't or freedom.
Free will.
I don't see. Okay, well, because of the external. Well, yeah, because determinism is the idea that external conditions necessitate the proceeding,
Exactly.
right? So it's trivially not compatible with it. But the point is that there are objections to that kind of sense of determinism, like that sense of freedom, like the randomness objection, which is just the killer of libertarian freedom.
I mean, if you think
And
about it this way, Aquinas. Hold on. So think about it this way, okay? Maybe this might help you build an understanding, maybe, of the theist position a
oh,
little
I'm
bit.
so jealous, Brett. Now I got to go eat cookies somewhere.
So, if you think about it this way, right? Aquinas is like part of like, or I would say a huge component of what he believed was that God's will, or God's God's providence, it does not like preclude human free will.
Yeah,
And
there were a
so
lot of people that were wanting to say this.
so
That's funny.
if even God's providence and God's will does not, then how is it that I could agree that other external factors can? You see what I'm saying? Like that's the reason why I don't view
Yeah, but the point is
compatibilism
that the
as a
notion of free
serious.
will, that you have, is susceptible to the randomness objection, which is, I think, a defeater to that sense of freedom. But yes, but
Hold on, can you run
let's
that?
start with.
Hold on. Can you run that by me?
Yeah, the idea is that if there's indeterminacy with respect to why you chose one action over another, then why you make certain actions, why you perform certain actions as to other actions is not explained, so it's random as to why you chose A over B. Because if there is an explanation, right, then that just falls in the hands of determinism, and you can't appeal to the agent as an explanation for why an agent performs A rather than B, because the agent is a common factor in both outcomes, right? So they can't differentiate it can't be appealed to explain the difference. So that's basically the randomness objection. So there's no reason on libertarian freedom, right, or the sense of when you include indeterminacy on the level of choice. There's no reason why you came on TikTok rather than go to bed, right? If it's a libertarianly free action.
I mean, what do you mean? There's no reason I chose to.
Yeah, but remember what
Out
I
of my free
said,
will,
right?
bro. You're missing
You
it.
chose to that per Mill's method. I think it's Mill's fifth method, right? If you're trying to explain a difference in outcome, you can't appeal to factors that are present in both outcomes, right? That's not to give an explanation at all.
So,
can you just explain how determinism can be compatible with free will?
Yeah. So it just depends on what you mean by free will. But if you just mean by what I mean by free will, when I use the term in many cases, is that I was free to do that because I was able to complete my will. Right. When your will is frustrated, you're less free. That's all I mean by freedom. And there's nothing there about the principle of alternate possibilities, ultimate sourcehood, nothing like that. So it's compatible with determinism.
Yeah, but this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. It says that determinism in this sense is generally understood to be incompatible with free will or the supposed power of capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of the universe, and that most philosophers will agree that determinism is generally incompatible with free will.
Well, that's just strictly wrong, given the
It's
citation
not.
I
Why
offered. So
you
Britannica, they don't know what they're talking about, right? And
Okay.
I mean, like I said, Phil survey papers is one of the most famous surveys on planet Earth when it comes to the polling professional philosophers. Right? They do it every 10 years. Every professional philosopher knows what this is, and professional philosophers actually agree with me on that
So hold
issue.
on, I
That
got a question for you. Are you familiar at all with like event causal libertarianism?
well, before I go to that, let me amend my statement. If what you, Michael, and let me amend my statement. If
Amendment.
the sense of freedom that Britannica is using is the incompatible sense of freedom, then yes, Britannica's right. But you didn't clarify,
The
right?
definition
Is
of
the
free
sense of
will,
freedom?
their definition of freedom, so I can clarify, or free will, since I'm using those terms interchangeably for the sake of my argument,
That's fine. Yeah.
is in philosophy and science the supposed power capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of
No,
the
is that
universe.
what Britannica means? What does Britannica mean?
That's what Britannica is
Yeah,
defining.
then they're talking out of their ass, right? Because that's compatible with determinism.
It's
Yeah, that
not
is
compatible with
compatible with
determinism.
determinism.
But
That's the definition I used for freedom, basically.
Yeah, the point is that in that definition, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't hear anything about the principle of alternate possibilities. I didn't hear anything about indeterminacy or ultimate sourcehood. That is the kind of freedom that's incompatible with determinism, right? And that sense of freedom is susceptible to the randomness objection, as I tried to present earlier.
Well, no,
The,
I'm
in the
trying to
chat,
go
guys,
down that.
I want to comment what somebody said in the chat, just so we can get people involved that are in the chat. Mitch the scientist. No, my cookie. I lost my cookie. Anyway, Danny is clearly using non-libertarian definitions, says Mitch the scientist.
Yeah, that's true. When I say that there's freedom, I'm not using libertarian sense. And Britannica is right if every philosopher, I mean, it's kind of just so trivial that if you're using a libertarian sense of freedom, that's incompatible with determinism. I don't know any philosopher that would disagree otherwise. Like, it just seems so clearly true that that's incompatible with determinism. But there are non-libertarian senses of freedom that are obviously compatible with determinism.
But that's
So can you give me an example of what you mean by that? Because
By
me,
what
like
exactly?
when I think, okay, so yeah, I guess, well, I mean, you basically, are you positing that kind of free will just doesn't exist, like in terms of just like the?
I mean, it could exist, but it undermines our deliberation, our deliberative processes when we're just choosing between A and B. I mean, the point is that you have to give up a lot. I mean, it's logically possible that your actions are random or indeterminate. I'm not, but the point is that it's sort of a transcendental argument, right? That if you believe that your deliberation factors into why you concluded A rather than B, okay, then if your judgment, right, factors into why you concluded A over B, in other words, then that does not sit well with the kind of libertarianism that's being peddled today.
Well, so I mean, yeah. So let's. I don't know. For me, I
Sorry,
have a hard
I got a
time
phone call.
So let's. I have a hard time understanding how we can. I have a hard time understanding how we can. Like, to me, it makes it so I don't understand. To me, it makes it so I don't understand free will. Like, because free will as a concept is something that, I mean, like, our entirety of our society is built on the idea that.
Guys, I had to mute everybody. All right, everybody's muted. You can unmute yourself.
It was Danny that did that, my brother. You didn't have to mute all of us. I was about to make a
Oh.
point.
Am I
What
echoing?
happened?
Yeah, you
No.
were, but that was because of your phone call. I heard it coming from your mic. I could have.
Oh, okay. Is it
Oh,
better
sorry,
now?
Michael. It's
Yeah,
just
it's better
I
now.
just
He said,
nuked the whole chat.
echo. Stinky.
But, all right, what were you saying, Foxes?
I thought you were about to call me a bad word.
I'm just reading your name.
No, it was supposed to be fixes with a Y, but I fucked up. So
okay.
I didn't know I could change my username until now. So
that's the first curse word I've heard in a while, guys. You guys are doing really well watching your language. I do appreciate that.
yeah, no problem, dude. So
all right, what was the last thing you said? I didn't hear.
Fuck, I don't remember. I was.
You were. I think the way I remembered is that.
No, because I got muted. I got muted, and I kept talking. Then I looked down. I was like, "What the fuck?"
I think what you're trying to appeal to is that there's a sense of freedom that is. It has to be. there's a sense of freedom that is being used today in our conversations about like everything from criminal proceedings to what goes on in the
Yes,
workplace, right?
exactly, exactly.
There's
Yes,
notions of
thank you.
consent. There's notions of essaying. That is all parasitic on a notion of freedom. Now, the interesting empirical question, which I think philosophers have neglected, is how people are using these terms. Right? I don't think there's any good study to suggest how they're exactly using it. And also, the people that are familiar with the literature are actually the most independable, non-dependable. I don't know what the word is. Not dependable.
Non-reliable.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Ironically, the ones that are familiar with the literature are some of the most. They're just plagued by how philosophers, especially in analytic philosophy, have characterized the debates. Right. So I don't know what the ordinary person or ordinary people mean in general when they're using the term free or unfree or coerced or not. But I know how I use it, and I know how I interpret most of the people I use it. And every time I interpret, I don't interpret them as saying that my choice was indeterministic. Right.
So you don't, I just, yeah, man, I can't get behind it. I just can't. I'm sorry, that's what it comes down to. I think we've boiled it down to its roots at this point. I think that there is a special type of causation that can happen.
Oh, I don't dispute that. That's not my contention. There are determinists that think that. In fact, I'm somewhat inclined to this view. The determinists that think that there are two forms of determinism. There's causal determinism with respect to laws of nature, and there's causal determinism with respect to volition. And so they differentiate between the two types of causation. Another like law-like causation versus what they call singular causation, in order to make way for agency. So, but both of those views, taking either of those views, they're endorsing determinism. So you don't have to think that determinism doesn't have to be about whether the laws of nature or govern all causal relations, or think that everything is mechanistic. You don't have to endorse that view at all. After all, Calvinists endorse that type of determinism. Calvinists are not.
But hold on. Calvinists are also heretical.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the point. Look, they're not. No, the
Amen.
point is that Calvinists are not naturalists, right? You agree with them on that, right?
He broke. He started laughing.
What happened?
He started laughing while you were talking. Like we got you in terms of comedy.
Oh, okay.
Like you were laughing a little bit.
The point is that Calvinists and Catholics agree that naturalism is false. Okay? And so, but they disagree.
Hold on. I just want to throw this one thing. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Danny. I
That's
want to hear
fine.
what you're saying. Theistic essentialist. That is an excellent point, and I am using that as a defeater next time I talk to this guy I know that's a Calvinist. I am going to use that as a defeater.
Theistic essentialist literally comes in here to like use psychological warfare on me. Sometimes he'll just come in here with no context and just like insult me and then leave. But then also he'll come in sometimes and give me advice. It's very strange.
Yeah. Anyways,
oh my God. I haven't been to, man.
There.
Oh my God, Ellis! It's been a long time. I would love to hear Ellis' take on this.
I bet Ellis, you're a determinist, right? I think he has to be a determinist. I think he's some kind of materialist. I could be wrong though.
You want guys get in here? If you guys want to get in, wow, English. If you guys want to get in here, I can change the panel to grid. We're going off the panel and going on the grid now,
that's
guys.
Fancy.
We're on the grid.
But I kind of want to end it with this remark about the Calvinist point. The point is that Calvinists and non-Calvinists agree, for the most part, that naturalism is false. But they disagree on determinism. So you can have, obviously, Calvinists have to endorse a non-naturalist sense of determinism, which is not non-mechanistic. Okay?
I just want to hear someone say QED. Please, guys, at the end. Thanks.
Huh?
You don't know what that means?
Long time no talk, man.
Oh, sorry.
But did that make sense, Love?
What's that?
Did that make sense?
No, I hear what you're saying. I know that Illis is going to back me up in my theistic perspective, so I'm really looking forward to his argument.
No,
wait, Illis, you reject libertarian freedom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's incoherent nonsense.
Yeah, thank you. It's incoherent, right? And I don't know what kind of objections you have to it, but the randomness objection seems to be a pretty good defeater. I don't know what.
Man, I'm not versed on like the libertarian freedom like defeaters, man. I'm not the right person to like.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I've
okay.
heard broadly what it is, and my intuition just tells me that it's like really dumb.
I
So
see. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, there's personally, and this is. I don't think anyone should accept what I'm saying, but I think that
I love that.
libertarian
I love
freedom has
that.
been put
Personally,
to
I don't think
rest.
anybody should accept what I'm saying, but here's what I think.
okay,
Here's what I
well,
fucking
No,
think.
I just don't want.
I love
I'm
Danny.
I'm giving
Danny's
you
great.
my. I'm about to provide. I'm about to provide some conjecture on my part. So I don't really know this, but I would bet, or I would. The way I'm diagnosing the philosophical landscape is that they have put libertarian freedom to rest. Right? Only it's an extreme minority position for a reason. I think. Right? It's because it's unintelligible. Right? It completely undermines agency, in my opinion, given
Well,
the Randomist
you know what a
objection.
better critique of it honestly is that it's just like a trivial form of freedom. Right? Like you can have the freedom to do what you want, but if you read any social contract theory, a guy like Rousseau would be like, yeah, what about like moral freedom? Or even like Kant would talk about that, right? Like in a society that everyone was well regulated or like adhered to deontic or
Well, we're talking.
deontic rules, then there wouldn't have to be any
Well,
laws.
so
Right? There would be a higher form of freedom, and that's something
well,
libertarians just have no answer to at all. So.
well, so we kind of separated the two earlier between the difference between free will and freedom, and we're kind of focusing in on more the free will side of it.
But what I
Um,
said to that, Illust, is that the terms free will, freedom of action, there's not a univocal sense of the term. Philosophers don't use it all the same way. You always have to clarify, okay, what do you mean by freedom in this
Yeah,
context?
whenever you start using the word free, okay, like for anyone who doesn't read a lot of philosophy because shit's boring as hell, whenever you start
it is
hearing
not
people use
boring.
the
It is
word
my new
free,
passion.
free a lot, you really got to start like picking apart what that means. I think that's what Danny's trying to
Sure.
say.
Yeah,
So I defined it as such. I said the
So
difference between freedom is the absence of external restrictions on actions, whereas free will is essentially like the prerequisite to like holding someone morally responsible for their choice. It's like a person's individual choice that's not entirely determined by external factors.
okay, with that, I got to go. Thanks so much.
yeah, I'm not. I don't know, Danny.
I mean,
This is gonna be like a 4-hour conversation deconstructing all of
well,
this.
that's what it's been, like a 2 hour
Yeah.
conversation. But I mean, I don't really have, it seems like he's rejecting determinism. He wants to affirm some kind of indeterminacy with respect to choices. And then my question is, if it's indeterminate, there's not going to be a good explanation for why, or any explanation for why one agent chose A rather than B, because it's indeterminate. And if it's indeterminate, then when you deliberate about whether to do A or to do B or to conclude A or to conclude B, right? Your deliberations don't explain why you made one choice over another, which is completely to undermine agency.
I would agree. That's a fair assessment.
Well, I don't. I mean, no, I don't think that it has to be explained. I think it can be considered irreducible
If it's not
by the
explained, then your
agent.
deliberations don't factor into your conclusions, which is just backwards. What deliberations are about is you're judging what to conclude or what to do.
But the difference here is we're talking about like your deliberations. That's a process that happens internal, right?
I'm
This
not
is when we're
disputing that.
talking about right. But what I'm saying is that's part and parcel to what I'm talking about when I talk about free will. Like it's literally distinctly different from freedom in that sense.
Real
Right?
Look,
quick, guys.
I'm going to ask you.
Danny, I think I know how to approach this. Look,
Okay, can you approach it? I really have to call my
yeah,
wife. She called me 3
yeah,
times.
man.
Okay, okay,
I'll take over, man. I can
okay,
tell
bye.
you're
Okay.
frustrated.
See you, Danny.
So
Bye.
I think that what I'm gonna try and get to the bottom of first is probably gonna be this will part. Okay, so like, what do you mean by a will? Because like a will can mean many different things, and then a free will is like, you know what I mean?
Well, when we first got into this discussion, I joined and Danny discussed with me if I thought that my personal definition of free will, which was making choices, which is essentially making choices within your own judgment, determining what you think is the right thing to do. And he said, "Is that compatible with determinism?" And I take more of an incompatibilistic, side with that. That you cannot, like, determinism is not compatible whatsoever with free will. If you look at Plato or Augustine or Aquinas or Aristotle, I mean,
Okay,
even
so
just
I
like,
see.
Well, no,
I see.
let's not appeal to those guys. No, hold on.
No. I see the disagreement. Okay, so like, essentially, it's gonna be like this: if you have a situation where you're coerced by some external force, are you going to consider that free will, even if you have the choice to choose between two outcomes?
yes.
I'm not.
Okay, so this is where the
Okay.
disagreement is, right? So you guys got to sort that part out.
So to make
Well,
so hold on
well,
1 second. Let me just say this. When you say coerced, let's make sure I understand what you mean. Like when you say coerced, do you mean like I'm gonna have one of my nuts
It could
chopped
be
off?
coercion, like there's an avalanche and I get to choose like left hill or right hill, or it could be coercion as like someone has like a gun to my head and it's like you have to vote for a person X or Y, right? Like I don't know, like however you want to define
Maybe I
coercion.
jumped the gun. Actually, I would say yes.
It could be
That is
intentional or
probably free will.
let me put it this way: intentional or unintentional coercion.
It's free will outside of the constraint of like freedom, right? So you still have the free will to technically or outside of the providence that freedom provides, the protection that freedom provides, right? So like technically, that man in the Tiananmen Square, he had he chose of his own volition to stand in front of that tank. However,
Well,
he didn't
it
have the freedom
seems
to do
that
that.
it seems to be the case that he did, and I would agree with that there. But I think on the philosophical level, people are going to say, "Well, how did we know that he was the one that effectively made that choice? How do we know that the choice didn't happen to him?" Right? Like, I think
No, I understand that argument.
that's like the view here is that the choice is happening to him from the determinist side,
From
and
the
then it's
level
just
of
the
spirit.
illusion
the
of the choice.
the consensus, and again, appealing to authorities can be a fallacious reason depending on the argument, but I think that it's wise to listen to people that have studied it probably longer than everyone in this chat has. And I feel personally, and I'm sorry that my voice is a little shaky, getting over a cold, but that determinism is incompatible with free will because determinism essentially alleviates the burden of moral responsibility, depending upon your choice.
Who studied more than ever? Like, I'm confused.
I'm sorry?
So is determinism like more like
Who
just like
studied?
looking at information from a
Like,
more
you said
logical standpoint and stuff, or
you
what
said we should
exactly is
listen.
the definition of determinism?
You said
Anybody?
you said you should listen to some. You said we should listen to somebody who studied. I'm just like who? Danny?
Aristotle, Plato,
Oh
Aquinas.
yeah,
Augustine.
those are like ancients, right?
Yeah, but I mean, free will
So
and determinism has been debated for centuries, and it's the same
yeah,
argument
it's
that
because
persists.
different
Millennia.
people have different formulations of what a will is, what freedom is, like what free will and what determinism is, right? It's
Christopher
not an
Rockwell
easy
Smith.
thing to pin down because it depends a lot on other. It's contingent on a lot of other views and like philosophy.
I'm just gonna Google it.
Well,
Determinism. Sorry, Shiro.
if
Determinism
we're
is the
gonna,
idea that you don't have like actual free choices. Like your choices are all decided.
It's presupposition that causation, external
well,
causation,
if
is
we're
essentially the genesis of
gonna
all.
use the proper definition of determinism as defined by Oxford says the doctrine that all events, including human action, are ultimately determined by causes external to the will. And according to Encyclopedia Britannica, it says that determinism is generally understood to be incompatible with free will or the supposed power of capacity, according to most philosophers. Now, obviously, most philosophers is a very broad term, but it does seem to be the consensus in
Consensus, yeah. Guys, just real quick, this entire conversation, as long as it downloads, will be uploaded to my YouTube channel probably tomorrow, maybe the next day at the latest. I'm posting 2 to 3 of these episodes every single day on my channel, Little QB. It's linked to my bio. They're all unedited. So,
was Danny making?
Essentially, the consensus is that it
So
is
was Danny
incompatible.
making the claim that they're actually compatible? Is that what he was trying to say?
Yes, he's making the claim that well, no, hold on. What he was doing is he was broadening the definition of free will to be more of just kind of like a freedom-like concept, and then saying that definition is compatible with determinism.
linked in bio.
I mean, okay, so I can see. Hold on, I see why you guys. Okay, so what he's doing is he's laying out a worldview that he has that's going to hold us to, like, it's like a build up to the crescendo of determinism, essentially. So if you don't hold a lot of his presuppositions, then you're going to disagree with the outcomes.
Exactly.
But fundamentally, I mean, if you bite the bullets, you're going to have to agree with what he was saying. I trust his reasoning, right? Like,
who's mine?
No, Danny. Danny's a very, very smart man. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm friends with him, and he's.
Well, you're an atheist too, right, philosopher?
No, I'm a Hegelian, actually.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
You're
well, Danny,
not a Christian.
well, Danny is just incorrect. I mean,
Why is Danny incorrect?
Major philosophers.
I need to hear his argument and your argument, right? I'm not going to sit here.
The entire argument will be posted. The entire 2-hour conversation will be
listen,
no,
I'm not
hold
going to
on,
go.
hold on. This is
Well,
what it
then
all
wait a
boiled
second.
down
No,
to.
philosopher, you can't say I need to hear your argument and his argument,
Well,
and
I
then
would
I
need to.
provide
Yeah,
you.
I wasn't here for the
I
whole
can hold on,
2 hour
I can surmise
conversation.
this in 2 quick seconds.
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so it was very simply the fact that eventually, I don't remember, I think it was Appearance, appealed to Plato and Aquinas and Aristotle and so forth, and then Danny made the exact same comment that you made, was yeah, okay, they're ancients, but fuck those guys. Let's talk about 70% of philosophers today agreeing with compatibilism based on the Phil Papers survey. And what we're saying is in both, well, I'm saying at least in both cases, we don't have to appeal to the majority or to an authority in either case. I think these are just presuppositions that are just informed by our intuition, and we're not going to get past it. I think we're at a dead end here.
Well, the
At
the
60%,
argument,
sorry.
the point of the argument though is that it is basically like it's just the first door to an entire hallway, because you have to go through what is free will and then what is good and bad. What do you determine as causing factors of good and bad? Are you looking at it from a theistic or atheistic perspective? And if you're
Well,
looking
no,
at it
but
from an
see, we're not
atheistic
even getting to
perspective,
that point, though. Appearance,
I'm
we're not
looking
even
at it
getting
from
there
a
because,
theistic perspective, so obviously I'm going to disagree
yeah, no,
with
I
a lot
got
of
you.
you.
But we're all, you and I are on the same page. What I'm saying is we're not even getting there because we can't get behind the understanding or a single, like, to steal his term, univocal term for what free will actually is.
No, and
Right?
resides
Like
in
he
out of
doesn't
body
believe that free
experiences.
will actually even exists. He believes only that a certain sense of freedom exists and that it's completely informed by external factors.
Yeah.
And
So
that's the
so
only
his
reason.
idea. Listen, his when he says free will does X, that's not saying the same thing. He doesn't mean the same thing as free will that you mean. Okay. He's talking about a different concept of the way your will interacts with the world. So I'm pretty sure that if he's going to hold that view and it's the most parsimonious, then it's wise to hold it true,
I
right?
have no idea what that word means. Can you use what's
Parsimonious
parsimonious mean?
means like virtue of being simple. It's like an Occam's.
Oh, stop it! That's the irony there is hilarious. Virtue of being simple, but I've never heard that word in my
Yeah. So
life.
like
Oh,
like oftentimes the
what?
simplest explanation is the best one. Like Occam's
Sorry, I
razor.
just
That
thought it
is,
was funny. Just
how does,
funny.
hold on. How does that mean?
Like Occam's
Oh, you
razor.
mean like the psychological definition of it? Okay.
Like Occam's razor. So it's just a theoretical virtue. It's the virtues of.
Sorry, parsimonious. I've always learned it to mean it was like a stingy thing. I was like, what? I was
No,
like, I had no idea what you fucking meant. I was like, what?
parsimonious is like it's like the most clean, cogent theory. It's
You know,
just a
it'd
way.
be a fun debate, guys. You have to debate, but you can't use any word bigger than 8 letters. That would be a wild
Wow.
blindfold debate.
You
Or
haven't
maybe
even
just
you
expand
haven't
your
even heard me talk
vocabulary.
about you haven't even heard me talk about like Hegelian German words. I haven't busted out the Aufheben yet.
Have any of you ever studied out of body experiences?
A
Huh?
little bit, but I
Briefly,
mean,
Near-death experiences.
Yeah,
near
near-death
death and out of body are
experiences.
two separate things.
Hey,
Though.
so Ellis,
Right.
are you a physicalist?
No, man, I'm the opposite. I'm an absolute idealist. To me, reality and everything in it is just a construct of my mind and everyone else's mind.
So
And the only thing,
solipsism.
no,
Isn't
no. The only thing that's real, like the thing that's
Well,
real,
how
can
can you
be.
know that how can you know our consciousness
Well,
is
yeah,
real?
I can't just.
So
What do you?
solipsism.
Okay, hang on a minute. You're jumping around from lily pad to lily pad without letting me make a point here. So what I'm trying to say is that what's going to be real for me is going to be the social relation I have with others, because the only way I'm going to be able to identify myself as a thing that exists is in relation to another individual.
So
I don't
no
think.
objective morality.
No,
No
that's not
universal
what I.
truths.
That's
no,
not what
that's
I
not what
said.
he's saying. That's not what he's saying.
That's not what I said at all. I'm a Hegelian.
Nah.
That means that.
That is not what he's saying, though. He's saying that
it
No,
he's.
that's
seems
literally
that
But
not
his
what he's saying.
Hold
reality
on a
can be
minute.
an illusion. I'm thinking of
Let him
Itachi
speak. Let him
Uchiha
speak.
quote,
Let him speak. Let him
Doctor
speak.
Okay,
I can
Stranger.
promise you he'll explain
before
this.
you assume like the end goals of my philosophy, I think you should know that Hegelian means that I view the Christian God as kind of trivial and it's like limitation, in the sense
So
that
you're an antichrist in nature.
no,
No,
that's not at
no.
all. What are you talking
No,
about?
I mean here you why I don't understand.
Hegel
You
was a
label yourself
Christian.
as,
Like
Let him
you
let him
call
explain.
God
Let him explain.
trivial.
Let him
Let him
explain.
explain,
Let him
bro.
explain.
okay,
Bro,
so
bro. Just
Hegel
let him
was a
explain. Let
Christian,
him
right?
explain.
So and Hegel was like does a lot of work in like Christian eschatology.
I couldn't even
Right?
understand. You said Hegel. I thought you said
Yeah,
I didn't know
Hegel,
what you said.
Hegel, right? Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to hold the view that there's a telos to history, and that the end of
Don't know
history
that
is
word either.
Well, if you're a Christian, you would know that there's going to be a goal to history, correct? Like Christian eschatology.
End times prophecy, to summarize.
No, not end times prophecy per se, but I'm saying the end of like
No,
the absolute,
the purpose, the absolute purpose, the
the
absolute
like the
purpose.
telos of
The
history is going
purpose
to.
of life is to worship God.
Okay, so if you want the like the quick summarization of it, the telos of history is going to be to become self-aware and to achieve a contradictory state of awareness, which is to essentially become the absolute. Right?
No, that's hilarious. That literally sounds like the devil is a spirit of confusion. You said the absolute wait. You to
Yeah, I'm
contradict
confused
yourself.
too.
Okay.
Hold on,
All
little
right.
QB. No,
Can
hold
you
on. As an
repeat that?
hold on, time out. As
30
an
or
Orthodox Christian, hold on.
Bro, I
As an
didn't know what to
Orthodox
say, man.
Christian, hold on, time out. As an Orthodox Christian, I implore you, little QB, sit down and
Why are you an
listen to what this
Orthodox
man
Christian?
has to.
My
Who
name's
who
Brian
This man
Fedor.
converted
has
you,
Barty
to.
is my
Orthodox
real name. It's in my
Christianity?
bio.
It's a
Hold on,
long
one person at
story, and I
once.
will have this conversation with you
Oh
at a
my,
different time.
was it Aish? Did you get converted on
No,
Discord?
Illust,
I was converted well before I ever met anybody in the
Okay,
Discord.
good. As long as it wasn't
Um,
me.
Illust, do you mind? Because I
no,
couldn't. Do you mind repeating that?
I highly
So
recommend you
one way to
listen to this man.
interpret history is going to be there's this. It's called Geist, and that's a German term for like spirit, absolute spirit. An absolute spirit is going to be like the driving force that moves humans towards action and societies towards ends, right? So like the Geist is what drives America towards whatever eventual end it may have today, by virtue of having all the people who are in that country encompass a part of it. Now, if I look at history as this tension, right, this dialectical relationship between spirit and reality, like material, and then humans generate society as an outcome of that tension, then I'm going to also understand that the telos of history, the outcome of history, is to achieve a sense of self-realization. So in the sense of like the goal of all humankind, the all of humanity, is to achieve a sense of like self-awareness, the same way that the goal of an individual's life is to become also self-aware. Right? The goal of all
Oh,
philosophy
okay.
is to
Bro,
self-discover
we're
self.
self-aware already. What are you talking about?
So,
Like we
No,
have
no,
self-awareness.
we can become self-aware. We can achieve nirvana, right? What I'm saying is
No,
that
Nirvana, dude. Okay, Nirvana is literally a
yeah. Can I
rejection of
finish my
all. No,
point?
no, no, no. No, I'm the
Can I
host.
just finish my
Nirvana is a
QB?
rejection of all earthly
I'm
desires.
gonna go down. You have a
Um,
good day, man.
No,
okay,
don't
I
do
just
that.
wanted to say one
Philosophy.
thing. Look, you have
God
no
damn it.
patience. You literally have
God
no
damn it.
patience.
No, you
I
Brett,
kept on
barely even been
interrupting him,
Brett,
talking.
bro.
I want to
Brett,
chime in for
kept on
two
Brett,
interrupting
seconds,
him.
and he
Brett,
has to
Brett,
run away.
Brett,
you got to let
Brett.
him finish his sentence,
You
though,
have to
bro.
let him
Okay,
finish a fucking sentence, man.
okay.
You were
First of all, stop
literally.
cursing. Stop cursing. I told you that a while ago. I really don't. I don't like
You know,
it.
you
I
told
don't
me
like
you
it. I'm gonna take you
appreciated my
next time
not
to curse.
cursing.
Huh?
You said you appreciated my not cursing.
Yeah, I
I
appreciated
w-
you not cursing.
yeah, and I
And
didn't
then you
curse. That's the
immediately
first time
started
I've cursed.
cursing a bunch after that.
What? No, I didn't. But anyways, the point
someone
is,
just cursed it. He was
I
no,
don't
just
know who I'm
referring to
talking to.
whoever just
Sorry, maybe it was
cursed.
someone
It might
else.
not have been you.
Host is
it
out of
wasn't
his
me.
league. Yeah,
No.
I don't need to like Quack said. We don't focus on this stuff most of the time. Michael does because he came from 5 Point Calvinism, I think, right, Michael? So he knows
At
more
one
of this
point,
than I do.
but
I
we
just like
should,
reading the Bible.
Catholics should study theology and philosophy. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
know that. I'm just saying I'm not there yet. You guys are above my pay grade in that
Little
regard. I'm just a
QB,
baby
little QB.
Christian.
Can I
But
make
I wasn't he did kind of run away with his tail between his legs. I mean, honestly, he could have waited 5 seconds for me to
no?
say what I wanted to
That's
say.
not.
I've hardly spoken at all. So yeah, that was a little silly of him to walk away.
But hold on, host, respectfully. Okay, two things I want to say. Firstly, is that while you definitely have not spoken that much at all, okay, you interrupted him 3 different times, like in very close succession, when
Well,
he
he
was
called the
trying to.
Christian God
Can
trivial.
I?
Once you
Hold
call
on,
the
hold on,
Christian
hold on,
God trivial, that's
hold on.
immediately I
Can
take that as a personal attack against me. So
I?
it's gonna get my
yeah. But
it's gonna raise my ire.
you have to understand though that Saint Augustine's every church father that ever debated anyone from an opposing theological camp still listened to what they had to say, and chimed.
Definitely, but then he
They didn't make
mentioned
it.
Nirvana, dude.
But
As soon
it's not supposed to be personal. That's the thing, is that people are going to have
Yes.
that perspective, because you have to understand, because even St. Paul says in the Bible that they're not going to understand because of their limited knowledge of God, because they don't have a knowledge of God. So
Right, I wasn't trying to convert him right now,
listen,
though. So I just thought it
QB,
was funny.
can
I
I
just
just
didn't
say
want to hear
something?
his garble anymore.
Can I say
It just
something
sounded
here?
nonsensical and silly to me. That's why I just didn't want to entertain it at all, Michael.
Okay.
I get it that it's good to know and everything, but not all of us are on the same spot in our faith
Are you
walk.
able to
So
pause for a second? Just for a second.
yeah, I'm able to pause. I
Okay.
have self-control.
So I
Stop
just want to say
mocking me by saying that. Yes, I can pause, and
I'm
I
not
can also
mocking you
mute
in any
you. And I'm gonna
capacity.
stop when I'm done
I'm
talking.
not
But I'll let you know when
I've
you
been
can
trying to
speak. Would
talk
you
and
like to?
you
Would you
keep on
like to
talking
speak,
over me.
or we're
I don't
gonna keep
understand.
speaking over me? Because I
I
can't hear a
was
thing you're
talking
saying.
and you started interrupting me.
All right,
You've
Love,
been
what do you have to
interrupting
say?
people.
Love, what do you have to say?
Nope, I muted. No, I muted him because he wasn't gonna let me finish talking. All right, now you can unmute yourself. Now you can talk.
This power struggle that you're going through, brother, is not very
No, it's
calming
because
in
you just
nature, and I would
mocked me.
recommend you
You
just take a
literally just
breath.
mocked me 2 seconds
I did
ago.
not mock you. I just
Yes, you
asked
did.
you if
Okay,
you could
continue
let
on.
me finish a statement.
Agree to
I'm sorry that
disagree.
you
All right,
felt
hold on.
like that, and I
Don't say
apologize.
you.
I
No,
ask for
okay.
you
And it's not. I'm
forgiveness.
sorry. I felt that way. Okay,
I'm sorry, and I
that's
ask
the
for your
back out of it.
forgiveness if
Okay,
I have
I'm
wronged
sorry you
you.
felt that way.
I ask for your
We agree to
forgiveness
disagree.
if I have wronged you. I am sorry.
Huh? Okay,
If
go
I
ahead.
have wronged you, I ask for your forgiveness. What
I
I'm
forgive you.
saying,
Go ahead.
what I am saying is that this situation that we're talking about right now, it was a misinterpretation of his words. If you look at the Hegelian concept that he is proposing,
If he would have waited, he could have explained it, but he
I
ran
can't.
away in a
Oh my
five
God,
second
dude, I can't.
time of me
I'm gonna run
replying.
away too because I'm not going to sit here and get talked over
Go
and
ahead.
over and
Now you
over
will. I'll
again
stop talking. I just wanted to say why it was
by a
silly for him to go away.
disrespectful person. You're being
Whatever. I'm not
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
You're being
You guys are
disrespectful and you're
you're
being
only on
easily
for 2 hours
excitable, and
on
there's
the
no
subject.
reason. This is
It's
a very
boring, to be
bad
honest. It's
example
boring,
of
okay?
what you want to show.
It's
Okay?
literally boring.
mean,
I just it's boring.
honestly, if I can like
Anyways,
interject, I
this
do
is just
understand why
ridiculous.
he reacted that way. Because like God appreciates zealousy, you know what I mean?
I don't know that
So
I agree
like
with God
God appreciates
appreciates.
zealousy, but also appreciates respect, and it has to go both
yeah,
ways.
that too. That too.
First and foremost, love.
I've been very respectful, Michael. I've been very respectful. I have been. I know
I
you guys
don't
are
feel
going to
like you've been
gaslight me and
as
say I'm not. It
respectful
doesn't matter. Your
as you
opinion does
feel
not
like
matter to
you've
me
been.
right now. You're going to gaslight me. It's fine.
I haven't talked
That's
for a
hilarious.
while. I was wanting to tell you about a dream I had that was of God. It's about the topic of love and respect. Um, I was there as like a disciple before God, and there was this woman who could transform into anything, and she transformed into a snake. And then before God, she transformed into everything she could, like everything, and was giving glory to everything.
Right. Y'all have
And
a
then
great day.
we were on this island, and God lit it up, and bit by bit, I helped too, and it lit up with love hearts and a man writing love and all this other stuff to do with love. And God said, "These are the things I love. Everything else I hate."
Sounds like a beautiful dream.
Yeah. It
oh,
sounds like a
that's a
prophetic
dream.
dream that God loves everything that is of good
Look,
nature and of love.
look.
But
None of them could stay and hear anything about anything that have to do when they're not talking about this like high level esoteric, dude. Michael, I get it. Like I understand, but just like it was enough, dude. 2 hours. Like I was done with it. But I know you're saying like I appreciate you and everything, but it's tough sometimes. I think I showed
Yeah,
him
cause
respect
like
though.
yeah, I mean to like be frank, like when you call something trivial, it's kind of like insulting.
Yep,
So
that was literally spitting in God's face right there, and he was literally there. I mean, the words they were using. I mean, I literally had no idea what he was saying. And my favorite thing to do, this is something I take after Muhammad Ali. Whenever the reporters would use big fancy words to try to like appear superior to him, he would I don't know what this is even called, but he would immediately go, well, like Howard Cosell said, well, you're acting very truculent. He goes, well, whatever truculent is, if that's good, I'm that. It's just like you like call them out by admitting your own inadequacy in the topic by being like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you please? It's almost like I was doing it for the audience though, because if I don't know what the word is, there's maybe some other people that don't know either. But
mhm.
just
yeah,
oh man, Just
before
Michael,
the
like that just seems so
philosophical
boring to live in that life with no faith. And it's I'm not talking about you, obviously. Just I get that you can battle against them. That's why it was such a perfect time for you to come in. I literally said I need help right now when Danny was asking me questions, and you jumped in.
Well,
So thank you so much.
Danny is the most insufferable human being I've ever had the mispleasure of talking to. I cannot stand him ever. Anytime I've ever talked to him, whether it be today or a few days, like he's always like, "Well, that's just not true because of that." Like I quoted reputable sources, and he was like, "Well, Encyclopedia Britannica is talking out of their ass." So, and I'm like, "Well, I can't have a discussion with you
That
when."
that was kind of strange to me.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can people in the comments are like, you can say Danny Wonder. I mean, and this
I,
dude who
I'm
has
his
this
friend, though.
dude.
I will point that out. I do
Well,
appreciate that he's
this
respectful.
dude,
I'm just letting the people in
this
the comments know.
this dude who has Plato in his name, would have like Plato disagreed fundamentally with what Danny had to say. Like, and Danny is an incredibly intelligent person, but he's also
Oh yeah.
incredibly insufferable. And I think that he is very, I think, egotistical. And I mean, I can find my own faults, but I can also call his out as well. Like, it's just
Michael, you know what he said on live the other day? I was like, wow, I appreciate that he admitted that. He said, since he used to be a Christian, but since he's not a Christian anymore, now he's afraid of death. And I was like, wow, that was the opposite of what happened to me when I turned to the Lord. And I'm not afraid of death anymore. The only thing that
this
I'm
dude is
possibly,
asking to
sorry.
be. I'm sorry, this dude's asking to be added into the live, and he said we're being cowards for not letting him in. But I don't know who this is. But I mean, if you want to let him in, see what he has to say.
Robbie Kenton.
How long have we been going for? I started at like 12:30, 1:30, 2:33. We've almost been going for 3 hours. I might actually want to like restart the live pretty soon.
Yeah,
So
just
honestly,
end it now, and restart it because you might as well at this point.
yep, I'm
Because
gonna end the live now and restart it. We have a lot of people here. I'm gonna take like a 2 minute break. Not even. I'm just gonna pause,
oh, real quick,
reset my app.
to this guy in the comments that I'm talking about him behind his back. I've told him this to his face, and I will tell him that to him anytime. Like if he wants to ask me
Right.
how I feel about him, I will tell him every single time.
We're
So
not allowed to gossip. Yeah, yep. We're not allowed to gossip. So this is just discussion that we're on a public platform, and we try to always be respectful. That's what we're called to do as Christians, guys. My YouTube channel is linked in my bio. Little QB. I post all these discussions. That's why I want to shut this down and restart it, so I will be able to download the live anytime it gets over 3 hours. It gets a little bit iffy in terms of being able to download it. So this entire conversation, unedited, unadulterated, will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, Little QB, within the next 48 hours. I'm posting 2 to 3, sometimes 1, 2, or 3 podcasts a day, depending on the length of them. I've posted like 30 of them in the last 18 days. Any variety of topics. We've had discussions with Muslims, atheists, New Age spiritualists, someone who was brought up by or was raised by pagans. So here's some of the
all right,
thumbnails.
I'll be
YouTube
right back.
channel's linked in the
I
bio.
gotta use the restroom, but I'll hop on the live when you restart it. So I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Guys, if you want me to follow you before I shut down and reset, please leave a heart in the comments. I will follow anybody who wants me to. But like Shira, thank you so much for coming in to like my defense. Well, you were defending the Lord actually. Truly, because that's what I was doing. Because when he said trivial, that's like he's based on like his entire label is based on the triviality of the Christian God. That immediately I'm just like, all right, that's it. But did you notice how they can drone on insufferably for hours and hours? I'm talking about Danny. I'm just using that word because he just did. But just about this highly esoteric, very, very just like dense subject. There was only one question asked, Shiro. There was only one question that whole 2 hours. But then as soon as Chris the Saint started talking about his dream, they just left. They didn't even wait for him to finish. They didn't say goodbye. They didn't say had a good night. I guess they could pin that on me saying that I was being disrespectful a moment prior.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I do.
Well, I
it just
wasn't
shows
meaning any
pride.
disrespect. I wasn't meaning any disrespect by telling my dream. I
Look,
was
look.
meaning to enlighten them
No,
to
not you.
what is honest
No,
and what's
no, we
good.
loved you. No, I loved it, and you even said it was about love and respect. Look what someone in the chat said. You're just inferior to intellects. Read the Bible. The Bible literally says, "He who exalts himself will be humbled." So, you're exalting yourself right now. I'm assuming you think that you're an intellect, meaning you have Plato in your because you have Plato in your name. But my friend Michael literally used Plato for his argument. But yeah, I usually just come on here and read the Bible, guys. But like I said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against evil spirits in high places. I'm not wrestling against you as a person, just your belief system. But this has been really fun. We're the
I
humble,
wanted to ask, what do you do for entertainment, Brett?
like for fun.
Yeah,
You're gonna laugh. What do you think I do for fun?
video game.
Not lately, dude. But yeah,
Not
I play
really.
like Fortnite and maybe a little bit of Call of Duty, PS4.
Yeah.
But mostly for fun, I read the Bible and listen to Christian videos now, dude. And listen to music while I'm doing that. I read the whole Bible, like mostly listening to Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I used to play Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and
Nice.
I'd go into a gunfight with a knife and a throwing knife, and I'd do better than the rest of them.
It's fun. It's fun. The throwing knives, like I don't know. I don't want to start using terminology from Call of Duty. I just want to shut this down. But yeah, we'll talk more about this on the next live, guys. I'm gonna take
Yeah.
a 2 minute warning, 2 minute break. Um, Theistic Essentialist, maybe you want to join in the next one, but I will be back on. It's 3:29. I'll be back on by 3:33. Guys, it's Devil's Hour right now. Ooh, but that's a superstition. We
Booga
don't
booga
believe in that.
booga.
For every hour, every minute, every second is Christ Jesus. His moment, for he is risen, and 3 a.m. is Devil's Hour just because Christ died at 3 p.m. and it's an inversion of that. So we ain't letting the devil have that either. Amen. I'm gonna say a prayer
Peace,
before we go
blessings,
here.
and love, guys. Peace, blessings, and love to you all.
Amen, dude. Thank you so much. You feel free to come back in. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, thank you for this beautiful conversation. I ask that you give me humility. I ask that you humble me every day. Thank you, Lord, for what you give. Thank you for what you take away. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name. Hooray, hooray. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. You make me happy. You make me gay. Thank you, God. My, my, my soul proclaims your beautiful array, the rainbow in the sky. After Noah came, through the flood, on the ark, you're beautiful, Lord. Don't ever let me part from your love, O God above. You know me from the start. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. That was fun. I tried my best.
That was
Also,
that was
by
a
the way, I
nice
meant gay
prayer.
as in happy. In case you couldn't
Dancing
catch on to that.
happy?
Gay, I meant gay as in happy. You know the word, like from the 1950s?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
yeah.
Australian one too.
Yeah,
They
oh, is
use a
that?
lot of often then yeah, like in Australia they say gay as in like happy.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hey, Michael, I'm getting ready to end this, but I'm going to let you jump in for 20 seconds. I just did a prayer. Were you there for that?
Huh?
Were you there for the freestyle prayer?
I was not here for the freestyle prayer.
Oh, I just did a rhyme freestyle prayer. I'm going to post it on my Catholic
Bro,
Verse
my
account.
voice
Thank
my
you.
voice is almost gone, bro. It's starting to make me upset. It'll be back later, but I have a cold. It's like
I watched your performance, guys. Michael's a singer, guys. Please follow Michael if you haven't yet. He has a beautiful voice. Right now, he's a little shaky because he has a cold. Well, that's self-admittedly.
that is fair.
But
Oh,
No,
that's why you sound
guys,
like
I'm gonna shut
Batman.
this down.
especially with this
I'm gonna shut.
debate. Like this debate just like threw it completely.
Dude, I'm gonna shut this down in like 30 seconds, but real quick, I want to join with my Catholic Verse account, and if you want to follow that, I posted a freestyle prayer I did the other day. I'm gonna post that though in the next couple days. I'm just gonna say hi real quick in the chat, and I'm gonna follow back like the first three people that follow me. There it is, right there. Hi, that's me. But I'm reading all of Genesis on there. So thanks everybody for joining. Please follow Michael if you want to have some awesome tingling in your ears and listening to his beautiful voice. Follow Shiro if you want to see an amazing woman of God, and follow Chris the Saint if you want to know a gentle soul that is seeking the truth and seeking the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks for your prayer
You're
and
logging back
appreciation.
on
I
with,
appreciate you, Brett.
you're restarting your life with this account or with another your
Yeah,
other
I'm
account?
gonna restart it with this one. That other one, don't see. It's better to do it on this, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's 3:33. All right, I'm gonna restart it in 2 minutes.
Just restart it now. Might as well just get it over with because you don't want to risk like someone coming in and saying something that'll mess up the
Yeah, I'm gonna restart it now. I mean, I'm gonna shut it down now and then restart it in 2 minutes. Cool? All right, y'all. Peace out. God bless you all. And yeah, glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
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 I'll let it run for 60 seconds so it doesn't clip off the last minute. All right, y'all, I'll be back. See you soon.